wealth. I think that's where the businessman Donald Trump comes in. I think he described it right. It will probably end up as a frozen conflict. The Europeans right now are talking about not only a frozen conflict, but a situation where it could well be that peacekeepers are put into the Donbass so that both sides withdraw outside. So it looks much like, say, Kashmir or the area between North Korea and South Korea. But that has to be negotiated. I think we're a long way from a settlement before we actually see what the architecture of the deal looks like.
Yeah, let me bring in some of the rest of the panel. So, Joe Walsh, I mean, I hoped and prayed that Ukraine could repel Russia, but my army brother, who I've cited a lot, but he was a colonel in the British Army, fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, and knows more about these things than I do. He said from the very start, there is not a chance that Ukraine is going to beat Russia. They just do not have enough firepower to do this. And he said that steadfastly through it to the point where I understood he's right. And I don't think anybody thinks that Ukraine can now win this war. Which brings me to Donald Trump and his blunt instrument way of dealing with these things. We saw it in Gaza. We're seeing it again with Ukraine. I don't like the way he talks about President Zelensky. I don't know why he has to demonize him in all this. I think calling him a dictator when you're not calling Putin a dictator is ludicrous. I think saying Ukraine started this is also ludicrous. However, if the bigger picture for Trump is taking a battering ram to an intransigent military scenario, just painted so well by General Kimmich, where it's just going nowhere. And excuse me, I spoke to Trump on the phone a few weeks ago, and he told me about the reports he was getting about the killing on the ground, and he said it was exactly like World War I, just big open fields and both sides gunning each other down, thousands of casualties a day. And he said this cannot go on. So I think he genuinely wants to end this senseless slaughter. And I've not seen a better idea, frankly, to getting this sorted than the kind of scenario that Trump has laid out, which is we get minerals and we supply some security, and the Europeans have to step up too and supply security. And that's how we move forward. Do you see a better way of resolving this? Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. Our sponsors mean we can bring it to you for free. Support for today's show comes from Beam, who can help you out with an issue of utmost importance: sleep. Good sleep, as I can confirm, is the foundation of physical and mental health. Our daily performance depends on it. That's why we are delighted to talk about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy hot cocoa for sleep. It's tested for high-quality efficiency and formulated to ease your body into rest, supporting the 4 stages of the sleep cycle to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Many other sleep aids cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful, all-natural blend of reishi magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. If you, like me, need a good lie down after an uncensored debate, you can try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder with 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Piers and use code Piers at checkout. That's shopbeam, BEAM.com/Piers, Piers, and promo code Piers at checkout. Now, on with the show.
I don't know, Pierce, but even if you buy that benign view of Trump, that he just wants to end the war, I still don't know how you explain what he's done and said in the past month. If you wanted to end the war, then why are you only beating up on and bad-mouthing and lying about the country that was invaded? Lying, Pierce, that Ukraine started this war. I'm coming to you today, Pierce. The UN just passed a resolution earlier today on the 3-year anniversary calling on Russia to simply withdraw from sovereign Ukraine. The United States of America voted against that UN resolution. Think about that. The United States joined Russia and North Korea in voting against a simple resolution that says, Russia, get out of sovereign Ukraine. Every freedom democratic country in the world voted for that resolution.
You know why America has voted against it? It's because they know it's not going to happen. and they are trying. Trump is trying, and I believe this. I think he is a guy who prefers peace to war. I think he proved that in his first term. So, regardless of the rhetoric, which I think is very unfortunate, I do think that the idea that America right now in this process is going to suddenly vote with the UN, which they feel is pretty discredited anyway, that they're going to vote with a UN resolution to kick Russia out, knowing it's not going to happen. How does that advance the cause of peace? It won't.
It's a resolution, Pierce, honoring the third-year anniversary of Putin's invasion. For the United States to simply say on the third-year anniversary that it was wrong for Putin to invade and he ought to withdraw, that seems like a fairly easy thing for the United States of America to do. But Trump can't do that because he will not distance himself from Putin.
Hang on, Biden wouldn't have done it either.
I think he would have.
Really? I don't think so.
He would have.
I don't think so. But let me bring in Batia. I mean, Batia, look, we're at a very febrile moment in this whole war, but we could also be at the beginning of the end of the war. And if that is what is going on here, and there's a recognition on all sides, it's got to come to an end, and we're now just trying to work out how that happens. What is your feeling about the kind of settlement it looks like is on the table?
So, Pierce, I so appreciate you being willing to admit this about Donald Trump, because you have been such a stalwart defender of the Ukraine, and yet you are 100% correct. Donald Trump hates war. He thinks it's totally wasteful. He thinks it's bad for business, and he wants this to end. You know, from the point of view of the American people, there has never been widespread support for this. The American people have never understood why this is our job to fund this. And I think Donald Trump expected when he came into office to find Zelensky the one eager to have this settled, and Putin the one sort of holding off and being recalcitrant. And when he found the opposite, and when he found Zelensky totally unwilling to do the most basic act of gratitude and give the United States a stake in these minerals, I think Trump got very angry about that. Now, I want to address something that I think I agree with people. It seems a little mysterious. I hear people saying this all the time. Why is he, demeaning Zelensky and building up Putin? I think the answer to that is because Donald Trump is a deal maker, and he does not view international relations the way that the liberal post-world order saw things. You know, the Obama administration, the Biden administration, they have this view of diplomacy that you need to sort of have two equals at the table, or as equal as possible. And so if your ally is the one who is stronger, you got to bring them down a little. If the person that you're not dealing with is weak, you lift them up a little. You get people to an even playing field, and then you can make a deal. And I think Donald Trump sees things in the exact opposite way. He sees them from a real estate point of view. You're never going to get a deal if both sides have equal power. What you actually want is a power disparity, because then the weaker party has more of an incentive to compromise. And the stronger party is going to compromise as well, because they get to remain the stronger party. And I think he is playing Putin like a fiddle. He knows that if he goes out there and builds up Zelensky and makes Putin feel the exact same fears about NATO not being that buffer zone, and Ukraine not being a buffer zone, Ukraine being part of NATO, Putin will never come to the table. But if he says to Putin, I respect where you're coming from, I don't care about the history, I just want this to end, then that is what's going to get Putin to the table. And I think he assumed that because Ukraine has gotten $200 billion out of the American taxpayer, that they would be willing to come to the table too. And I think he's very upset that Zelensky has not turned out to be that way.
Okay, Cenk, you were laughing, but I mean, that could be entirely accurate.
No, there's no chance that's accurate. Sorry about that. Okay, so look, at the beginning, this was a giant mystery. I didn't understand what was going on. I might have said this on your show, Piers. I was like, why would we be attacking our ally? Put aside the fact that they're our ally. It doesn't make any sense in negotiation. You want to put leverage on the opposing party, Russia, so that they are willing to get to a deal that we can live with and our ally can live with. Putting pressure on your own ally who's in the weaker position makes no logical sense in a negotiation ever. It's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. So putting aside any feelings about Zelensky and Russia, this isn't about that. Just in sheer negotiation, it makes no sense. Okay, so, but now I've solved it, because it's clear now what's happening. Because they want the mineral rights. So he's putting pressure on Zelensky because he doesn't give a damn about what kind of deal Russia and Ukraine strike and how much land one keeps or the other. Do you know what's in the mineral? We keep calling it mineral rights. Titanium and lithium. Oh, what? Who needs lithium? Oh, right, Tesla has lithium go in its batteries. Elon wants that lithium. So the deal that our Treasury Secretary pushed across the table to Zelensky when they were one-on-one and tried to bully him into signing was, we spent $100 or $200 billion in Ukraine. There's conflicting numbers. But look, we all want peace. We all want to stop spending that money. That's legitimate. The negotiations are perfectly legitimate. The drive for peace, perfectly legitimate. He pushes across a deal for $500 billion in mineral rights. And here's the most important thing that American voters have to understand. Those minerals do not go to us, the American taxpayers, the American citizens. They go to American corporations. We are going to get $0 out of that. But Elon Musk is going to get fabulously even richer. He wants that lithium, and he doesn't care about Russia or Ukraine. So this is a robbery now. And that's why they're pressuring Zelensky instead of Putin.
Okay, Dave Smith, it's a robbery. Piers Morgan Uncensored is now proudly independent. If you like the show, we ask for only one thing. Subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now let's get straight to the point. Support for today's show comes from a business focused on a critical issue: prosperity. US national debt is at crisis levels, inflation has made life more expensive for everybody, and the stock market is precarious, enough to make anyone's financial future feel grim. So what is the solution? Well, a simple one is to opt out of the chaos and invest in something solid and reliable: physical gold and silver. And there's only one name you need to remember: American Hartford Gold. This company has earned the trust of thousands of customers with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and glowing reviews you can see for yourself. They offer an incredible range of gold and silver bars and coins. They can be delivered directly to your door, or they'll help you set them up in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. First-class customer service makes the whole process simple, secure, and straightforward. American Hartford Gold is committed to getting the truth out there and giving you peace of mind in uncertain times. And if that wasn't enough, you'll get up to $15,000 worth of free silver when you make your first purchase and mention my name, Piers. So make the smart move. Call 866-692-2474 or text Piers, that's P-I-E-R-S, to 65532. That's 866-692-2474 or text Piers to 65532. All the details are in the description. Now on with the show.
Well, look, I mean, I don't completely agree with Trump's proposal. I do think it's kind of gangster to try to like strong arm Ukraine into giving us what really isn't rightfully ours. And it's kind of rightfully the people of Ukraine's. By the way, I say this not like as a commie at all. So when I'm saying I don't mean like the people own it or something. I mean like whoever homesteaded it or something about Lockean property rights. But, you know, there's been this major change in Donald Trump's rhetoric towards Zelensky. Through the campaign and through the very beginning of his administration, he would always just say he had a great relationship with him and he thinks he can get a deal done. Something there has changed for sure. But in terms of the stuff, look, if you're trying to negotiate a peace to this and you accept that we're not going to get the Biden-Nancy Pelosi pipe dream, which was always a pipe dream. Your brother was correct about that, Piers, that we were going to, repel Vladimir Putin from Crimea. This was all just ridiculous. And hundreds of thousands of people died in the pursuit of this unachievable policy. And if we can all accept that we're going to get some type of settlement here, that we're going to have to negotiate an end to this war, and that Ukraine isn't going to be able to defeat the Russians militarily, then obviously it makes absolutely no sense to sign on to these virtue signaling UN resolutions. It makes absolutely no sense for him to be just out there insulting Vladimir Putin, which seems to be the demand from so many progressive Democrats. Like, listen, it's not a question of whether you think Vladimir Putin is good or bad. And I would agree with you. I mean, me and you do not see eye to eye on this issue, Piers, but I agree. It's not accurate to say Zelensky started the war. There are many factors, but Vladimir Putin is the one who invaded the country. But the point is, if you have a hostage negotiation, if someone with a gun runs into a school and holds a bunch of kids hostage and you send in the negotiator, you don't start insulting the guy and just virtue signaling for no reason and talking about how terrible it is to hold kids hostage and what a monster he is and I'm such a better person than him. I would never do anything like that. And the truth is, you do, in some cases, try to flatter the guy a little bit, try to get the best deal that you can get. You're trying to save lives here. And I'm not going to speculate like Cenk did on, I don't think this lithium's going to end up being turned over to Elon. And I think it's quite possible that Donald Trump does have some good motives here. And that the truth is that Joe Biden's policy with regard to Ukraine is the most reckless policy in the history of the modern American policy in general. To be on a proxy war with the two countries with the 90% of the world's nuclear arsenal, to be in a proxy war over whether the Donbass region is ruled by Kiev or Moscow, never made any sense whatsoever. And there have been close calls all throughout this thing. If you think about the Nord Stream pipeline, where we made the attempt to blame that on Vladimir Putin, which was never true. If you think about those missiles that hit Poland, which were Ukrainian missiles, which Ukraine immediately said was Russia, there were very close calls here. If you study the history of the Cold War, we came very close to nuclear war on a couple different occasions. And so I'm sorry, if Donald Trump is trying to bring an end to this war, then I think if he's successful in that, it'll be the greatest accomplishment of his life. And I'm all for trying to end this war.
Okay, General Kimmett, I mean,
But Dave, that's not the question. No, he's misdirecting, though. That's not the question. We all want the war to end. And I don't need him to yell at Putin. I don't need him to sign anything. I just need him to do rational negotiations so that everyone on here is happy and the war ends. And I don't need, like, Ukraine to win on every negotiating point. I just want to get the peace. If you want to get the peace, holding up Ukraine for a $500 billion robbery that is obviously going to go to help American corporations like Tesla who need that lithium, that makes no sense. And that hurts the cause that you care about, Dave, and that all of us care about.
I'm not as convinced, Cenk, this is all just some play by Elon. I mean, I think if America can do a deal that gets a lot of Ukraine's minerals in return for the substantial support America's given to Ukraine and would then continue to give, it seems to me a pretty pragmatic deal, actually. My question for General Kimmett would be this, which is, I wouldn't trust Putin as far as I could throw him. And I think that his actions in Georgia, in Crimea, now Ukraine, full Ukraine, that all this suggests to me is the theory that many people have about him, which is that he wishes the Soviet Union had never been broken up, that he is intent on expanding Russia's territory, and that if he gets away with keeping 20% of Ukraine, then he'll either come back for more or he'll try and get it somewhere else and try and expand Russia's power and territorial reach elsewhere. And I've got to say, I'm very cynical. I think that's exactly what he'd like to do. Am I wrong to be cynical?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. Now, look, he's paid a pretty heavy price in terms of what he's lost in Ukraine. Hundreds of thousands of dead, probably 10 times that amount wounded. But you've got to understand that the Russians can take pain like nobody's business. What he has lost in Ukraine is a fraction of what they lost in World War II. And he is testing NATO, there's no doubt about that. If he wanted to attack, he could continue this attack, not in Ukraine, but up in the Baltics, and take back that critical area up in the Baltics that gives him access to the Atlantic and the North Atlantic. The only thing I think that is holding him back is that it's not a matter of what he would lose. It's a matter of the fact that he goes from fighting one country, Ukraine, to fighting 27 countries in NATO. So I do think that he does not think for a moment about what he's lost in Ukraine and the effect it has on his population. That's the beauty of being an authoritarian leader. But I do believe that he has those long-term aspirations, as so many Russian monarchs have had throughout history, of expanding the Russian Empire well beyond where it is now. But I will tell you that I disagree with what Boris Johnson told you about, and to use your term, NATO expansion. The fact is that one could make a legitimate argument that the Russians have had a paranoia throughout history about the encroachment of the West. The word Ukraine means the frontier. The Russians have always wanted a frontier between themselves and the West. And if you want to make that argument, there was some legitimacy of his concern of NATO enlargement and try to dismiss it, I would remind Americans about the Monroe Doctrine. We go ballistic when foreign countries get anywhere near the United States, as we've done in the past. We invaded Grenada, that great existential threat to America. We invaded Panama, yet another threat to the freedom and liberty of Americans. And the only time we really had a legitimate reason for doing that was in '62 when the Soviet Union put nuclear missiles on Cuba. But let's be honest, Americans have the same paranoia about encroachment into our hemisphere as Putin does into what he believes is his hemisphere as well.
Yeah, I do get that argument. I know it's the one that he peddles loudest with his own people, but I think the paranoia stroke desire to not see any impending encroachment as they see it on their border is probably real. It doesn't mean they're right to do what they did. It just means the paranoia is you can understand why some of them, if not a lot of them, feel that way.
If I could just quickly add, right? Because I think sometimes, and even in your question to Boris Johnson, sometimes people go like all or nothing with this, right?
I agree.
So it's not
more
like
nuanced.
it was Vladimir Putin provoked, and therefore, if he was provoked, he's a great guy and he was justified to invade the country. Like that those second two parts don't follow.
Yeah.
But the point is, and I would highly recommend, just to back up what was just said here, if anyone wants to go read, because the CIA director for all 4 years of Joe Biden's administration, who was the CIA director while this entire war was going on, Burns, right? He is the one who authored the Niet means Niet memo that was sent to Condoleezza Rice, and this was not for the public. We only know about this because Julian Assange leaked it, but he said at the time he was the ambassador to Russia, and he had put up this entire document where he was like, look, these plans of including Ukraine in NATO is going to be a disaster. And I've been over here talking with everybody in Russia, not just Vladimir Putin, even his sharpest liberal critics. They all agree that this is the brightest of red lines for them. They will not tolerate Ukraine being a part of America's military alliance. And I just don't understand why of course, we would not tolerate that either. If China or Russia wanted to bring Mexico into their military alliance and then just announced, as they did 2 months after this memo at the Bucharest summit, that they were going forward with that, and then they poured tens, maybe over $100 million into a street protest, which overthrew the democratically elected president of Mexico, who was going to make a deal with us, and then went in the other. We would have the exact same, and I don't think Washington, D.C. would be above invading Mexico if that's what they needed to do. We would never tolerate that, and we could recognize that Vladimir Putin is no angel, and also understand that the West put him into a situation where he reasonably could claim, I cannot tolerate what your plans are here. What's the point of us doing this? It makes no sense. It's not in our interest.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Walsh, the other part of
what I would add, and one thing I would add as well, what I would add as well is Bill Burns was working for James Baker when James Baker told Genscher, as part of the reunification of Germany, that we would not seek to expand NATO to the east. Again, wise people like Bill Burns, James Baker, understood this basic, perhaps unfounded, but genetic predisposition opposing encroachment of NATO, Ukraine, their frontier.
Yeah. Joe Walsh, I mean, the other part of this that I think is significant is we've got the British Prime Minister going to the White House on Thursday. Emmanuel Macron was there Monday. And Trump is quite right, in my opinion, about the disparity between what America contributes to NATO in terms of resource, money, weaponry, and so on, compared to the European countries. And through his own hectoring about this, many of the other NATO countries are now paying a lot more money than they were before into NATO. But he's also right that ultimately Europe should be moving quickly to be able to secure itself collectively from people like Vladimir Putin. And I don't understand why there's any kickback to that. I think that what the UK spends about 2.3% of GDP on defense. It's nowhere near enough. We live in dangerous times. And I think that Trump is very, very accurate in saying Europe is not punching its weight and needs to do that. And people dismiss it as America first, isolationism and so on. Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean to say he's not right. I do think that many European countries need to wake up.
Well, and Pierce, and they have the last 4 years while Trump wasn't in the White House. European nations dramatically increased their share to NATO. Europe has contributed more to Ukraine than the United States did. But Pierce, to this notion of encroachment of NATO.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You either believe NATO's a good thing or a bad thing. There's a reason why countries like Finland and so many other European countries want to be in NATO. It's a good thing. It's a defensive alliance for freedom-loving democratic nations. Encroaching upon Russia, NATO's a good thing, Pierce. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, but what about the point?
European
But hang on.
countries would want to join
What about the point Dave Smith made, which is surely correct? If it was America and there was a country doing this, I think America would respond very aggressively to what they would perceive as an encroachment.
Well, again, that aside for 1 second, what are we to do? Finland wanted to join NATO. Finland now shares almost 1,000 miles of border with Russia. And Putin screamed to the high heavens that if Finland joined NATO, there'd be hell to pay. Nothing's happened. What do we do, Pierce? What do we do, Pierce, if peace-loving nations in Europe
the answer is obvious. Look, Joe. I mean, look. Aside from this, I mean, I got to say, I find it to be very immature thinking to say NATO's either good or bad. Like, I don't think that's ever how you should analyze the world. And you can say, I know you and Pierce, you and Tucker had your argument about this, but if you want to say NATO's a defensive alliance, I mean, I guess, except for all of the times when it's not, except for except for Serbia and Libya and Afghanistan. But okay, if you want to claim NATO as a defensive alliance, look, what we should do is not expand it. And I'm sorry, but who cares if other countries desire to join NATO? That's not how we should be making these decisions. Of course, lots of countries would love to join NATO. I'm sure a huge majority of them, because, yeah, you get your defense subsidized and you get protection from the most powerful government in the history of the world, the United States of America. But that's not the question. The point is, why would we want to expand NATO right up to Vladimir Putin's borders? And look, the truth is that
expanded. It's already
right.
expanded right up to Vladimir Putin's border. And
I didn't say it wasn't.
If you can't, David, but Dave, again, every time I'm on with you, you accuse me of immature thinking. Granted, nothing is totally black and white, but would you not say generally over the course of history, here we go again, NATO has generally been kind of a force for good? Yeah?
No.
No, you can't say that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't agree with that.
Right.
I don't believe that NATO has been a force for good. I believe it's the exact type. It's the exact type of entangling alliance that our founders were unanimous in recommending that we don't get involved in. And Cenk, you can say I'm wrong, but dude, you're as anti-war as I am. So why are you standing up for the European wing of the American empire? You know what this is, Cenk.
Dave, he's saying we're both.
No, hold on. So listen.
I know.
You're both wrong and you're both right. So listen. I love, first of all, just quick side note here, that nobody can tell who's left or right anymore. This is beautiful.
Do you know what?
American
That's
politics.
exactly what I was thinking. The whole political pendulum has completely gone crazy. Where if we had this debate 20 years ago, everyone would have known who the right are and who the left are. It is impossible anymore to define people in the way that we used to. And I like that.
I love it. I love it because we're now using our minds and independent judgment and actually talking about policy rather than strict ideology on either side. So now, look, I agree with Joe. The UN is very important. I know I'm a lone voice here these days in American media, but I 100% believe in the world working together. I think NATO is very important. I'm very supportive of NATO. And I think it has definitely been a force for good and has protected the alliance. Having said that, Dave is right. Just because you like NATO doesn't mean that NATO has to get closer and closer to Russia. I mean, Joe, you were saying that if you like NATO, then you should be for NATO expansion. How about if NATO said, okay, we'd like to expand into Chechnya in the middle of Russia? That's mental. That doesn't help the alliance. It hurts the alliance. It makes our job of defending both Europe and America harder, not easier. If we go and randomly put Taiwan in NATO, that makes no sense. So we've got to be judicious about who we put into NATO. And then now when we get back to, okay, NATO and America and Russia, the opposite side, have to get to an agreement. And that's good. We're all going to save money. We're all going to get to peace. We're going to save lives. We have to get to an agreement. But back to the negotiation, if two companies are having trouble getting to an agreement and they bring me in as a mediator, and then instead of helping them get to an agreement, I go, now I want money for my company. Well, that doesn't help the negotiations at all. It makes the mediation and the negotiation much more difficult because now you've entered a third party in there that had no business there, and he's demanding like some outrageous number, and then he starts attacking the people who brought him into the negotiation. Just so, look, we all want to get the peace,
Jake, that's
protect
not it,
NATO
though.
without encroaching on Russia.
But Cenk, it makes no sense to see America as the neutral negotiator in that. Like, we're not coming into a deal to broker a peace. We are the other side of the negotiating table. Ukraine would have had to do whatever Russia wanted to do if we didn't give them a blank check. So it's just not exactly analogous. I mean, look, again, I think
But
it's
Dave,
kind of
I agree with you on that. But then why are we attacking our own ally? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well,
other than the mineral rights,
totally
lithium is in the batteries in Tesla, just in case you don't know.
Well, also, I mean, never underestimate the fact that we are dealing with Donald Trump here, and if you said something to piss him off, he is petty enough
on that
to
point,
then go around and attack you for a couple weeks over
You know what?
it.
On that very point, there was a
It's
report.
about the money.
Well, there was a report in the Financial Times actually overnight, right to that point, Dave, which was that apparently Zelensky, when he was first told that the Americans wanted $500 billion worth of minerals, lost his rag so spectacularly with whichever American official was relaying this information. You could hear his voice apparently screaming down the corridors, and that presumably got relayed to Trump, who already has a bit of a bad feeling about Zelensky, going right back to when he first came into power and the whole thing with Hunter Biden and everything else. And Trump is, he does take stuff very personally. I always say he's got the thickest skin of anyone I've ever seen in public life, soaking up stuff that would kill anybody else. But he also has the thinnest. And he harbors grudges, and he'll use that against him. And I think that's a lot of what's going on with Zelensky. I think he took against him personally. But that doesn't mean that ultimately, at the end of all this, there might not be the best possible deal that Ukraine right now could probably hope for, which may involve a bit of transaction on minerals, but ultimately may bring the war to an end that's killing so many of their people. Anyway, look, I want to change just briefly to the other war, which we mustn't forget, which is the war between Israel and Hamas. And Basti, I'll start with you on this. Netanyahu has suspended the release of Palestinian prisoners because of the, as he puts it, the repeated violations by Hamas involving the ceremonies, which he says have been dishonoring the Israeli hostages, cynically using them for propaganda. So he's now delayed the release of the 600, I think it was, Palestinians that were due to be released in exchange. Now that's obviously a ratcheting up of tensions here. But I've got to say, just watching this from a distance, these scenes of Hamas in full force, with all their regalia, putting coffins of babies underneath pictures of Netanyahu looking like the devil, beaming that to the world, sending back the wrong remains of that poor woman whose children were also murdered, etc., forcing one of the released hostages, it seems, to kiss Hamas terrorist standing there. We've got to. I'll show you that clip actually before we discuss that. Let's just watch that moment. Now, you heard the deafening roars of approval there for what appears to be a conciliatory kiss by this hostage, Omar Shemtov. But his father's come out and said he did it under duress. He was forced to do it. We don't know yet. We want to hear it from him. but it certainly looked that way. Somebody goes up to him, talks to him, and the next thing he's doing that for the cameras, and it's obviously a huge propaganda moment for Hamas. So, I mean, Batia, it's all messy, it's all horrible, but the overriding imagery is that Hamas haven't gone anywhere. That this war was supposed to be the end of Hamas. They don't look like they're over, and they look like they have a lot of popularity still with Palestinian people in Gaza.
You know, it says in Genesis, God tells Abraham, whoever blesses you will be blessed, and whoever curses you will be cursed. And I keep thinking of this as the perfect metaphor for those scenes from that parade. Because, of course, to attend a parade,
was my mic off that entire
the
time?
bodies of babies which have
That's
been
embarrassing.
strangled and
Obviously, I'm still new to
mutilated
this.
are
I don't
celebrated
know. Maybe you guys could hear me, but
accursed,
probably not on my
right?
mic though.
To bring a child to a parade celebrating the strangling and
just noticed that
mutilation
there
of
was, like,
babies' bodies
no-
is cursed. To live
movement on the
under
mic
a
auxiliary
barbaric
bar.
rule like Hamas
So my bad.
that would put on a show like that is to be cursed. To be so morally
Then Israel's
depraved is its
10,000
own
times more cursed.
punishment. And I think that is the point here, Pierce. This is the beginning of the end, not just of Hamas, but of the left that defended them. Because, you know, the left thinks Israel is the Palestinians' curse. It is the left who have cursed the Palestinians with their support because they are prolonging the moral depravity that has earned the disgust of every good human being on planet Earth. And I am so grateful that my government, Donald Trump, the United States of America, stands with the Jewish people against such pure, absolute evil, because it truly is going to be a new era. There is no going back from a parade celebrating the mutilated, strangled bodies of babies.
Okay, Shank?
Yeah, so what Hamas did is so stupid, and I totally agree that it's immoral. But are we ever going to talk about the 15,000 dead children that Israel slaughtered? You want to talk about cursed? If you think the Palestinians are cursed because of 36 children killed during October 7th, how cursed is Israel for the 15,000 children that they slaughtered? They crushed their skulls. They lit them on fire.
Get them thumbnails in.
They destroyed and killed so tens of thousands of children.
He's front row and center.
And now you're saying, oh my God, because I see one with my own eyes, that's Israeli. Oh, the Israeli lives are worth, what, 10,000 Palestinian children? 100,000 Palestinian? Is there any number of Palestinian children that you would have any sympathy for?
It's one of those times where I'm like,
Hamas,
yeah, he's got a point.
But that does not justify Israel slaughter after slaughter after slaughter and go, oh yeah, Hamas made me do it. Hamas didn't make you do it. Israel is reveling in it. It is now a terrorist state. It's rolling tanks into the West Bank. They've taken Trump's ridiculous plan in Gaza as a green light. And of course, this was all arranged ahead of time. That's why Netanyahu supported Trump. That's why Trump got $337 million from the Adelson family. So now they're rolling tanks into the West Bank to slaughter more Palestinian children. So I hate that both sides are doing this, and I hate that Israel is doing it 15,000 times more, because that's how many more babies they've killed and children that they've killed than the one that the entire U.S. and Western media is focused on. Can we not see that when it's an Israeli baby, that the whole world is like, this is the most important thing in the world? But I don't mind that 1%. But then don't tell me that 15,000
How many parades were there in Israel celebrating the casualties in Gaza? I mean, how many parades were there of Israelis celebrating the dead
more slaughter in Gaza?
All right, let me bring in. All right,
hang on.
let me bring in Dave Smith.
Hang on.
Well, because I actually think, listen, but first off, let me just say, I almost, look, that was sickening, that video, the reports of what was done to these hostages, and I don't know that all this evidence has actually been released, and we'll maybe find out at some point, but it's all sickening and horrible, and I hate to even use it to then try to win a political argument after it. I mean, it is, look, there is no questioning, it is sickening to see like a big crowd celebrating these things. I do think, like, Bacha, you make a fair point. It's like, yeah, okay, we don't exactly see the same type of kind of primitive brutality on the Israeli side. There is this tremendous bias, though, I think, toward I don't know exactly how to say this. It's like a more an anti-barbaric bias. So if Hamas runs in and is just gunning down random people, there's something where that triggers a certain reaction out of something. Whereas, collateral damage or targeted strikes don't trigger that same response from people. The thing is that, like, if it's your kid on the side of that collateral damage, it probably feels awfully similar. And so when you ask, like, oh, are there parades where, for, say, like, Israeli hostages or prisoners or whatever they want to call them? No, I have seen Israeli politicians as well as American politicians signing the bombs, including Nikki Haley, before they get launched into Gaza. I don't know. I mean, I find that pretty sickening also. And like, to Cenk's point, there is just like a certain, don't get me wrong, okay? I'm trying to like be as charitable to you as I can. I would rather be next door neighbors with like an IDF soldier than a Hamas militant, okay? Like, there is a difference between the two. But when you're talking about the level of human suffering that Israel has inflicted on the people who were not members of Hamas, who were probably more victims of Hamas than anyone in Israel was, on larger numbers at least. There is just like, I'm sorry, it does seem after a while, like a lot, as I say all the time, a lot of the people on the pro-Israel side just value Israeli life more than they do Palestinian life. And that is your right. That is your right. I understand, I value my children's life more than I value other children's lives. That's okay, that's my right. It's not reasonable for me to require the law or politicians to value my children's life more than other children's lives.
Okay.
And I think that's the essence of
let me bring in, I want to ask General Kimmett.
Can I just respond
hang on.
Pierce?
Well, very quickly, yeah. We're running out of time.
Very quickly. Dave, the whole of our civilization is based on the difference between barbaric physical violence inflicted by one human against another and the kind of collateral damage that tragically happens from justified warfare, as long as it is proportionate. Now, we could debate that. We have debated the question of proportion, but the entire Western civilization is based on that distinction.
I have Batia from the start of this war. Hang on one second. Hang on. I have said from the start of this war that there were two things that really concerned me. One was proportionality. Right? We know that 1,200 people were killed on October the 7th, and another 7,000 were wounded. The 1,200 were killed. Of whom a smallish, relatively smallish number were children. What we've seen, and obviously 250 more were kidnapped, including horrendously a baby and other children, and that was all horrific. And anyone who thinks otherwise, I have no time for. But I always said one or two things. Well, what is proportionate? And it seemed to me about the middle of last year, I began to sense that this was just getting grotesquely disproportionate. But mainly because I didn't see that the end game was going to be successful. The end game was supposed to be the eradication of Hamas, a terror group. There is no sign that they are eradicated. And in fact, US intelligence, and I'll come to General Kimmett here about this, the US intelligence reports about a week ago suggested that for every Hamas terrorist who's been killed, they've already been replaced by people with similar ideology. So my fear was always that a disproportionate response by Israel would actually fuel the ideology behind Hamas, make them more popular, not less. And that in the process, we've seen, as Cenk said, 15,000 children reported now to be killed. And that's just, whatever you try and say by justification, it is unjustified to kill that number of children. It just is, isn't it?
Well, I think we're having a little bit of historical myopia here. Maybe I'm just kind of old to remember the fact that we had 3,000 Americans killed on December 7th, 1941 by the Japanese. And by the end of the war, we dropped 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I suspect there were probably about 150 to 250,000 children that were incinerated in that attack alone. So I think that we are perhaps forgetting our own history and what we have done in a scenario of total war for the United States, for Great Britain, and for Western Europe. And candidly, I think it was the right thing to do because it was total war to destroy the Japanese leadership of the Japanese empire. The Jewish state, Israel, believes they're at total war with those terrorist groups. But you're absolutely right, Piers. Not only was Hamas celebrating that, but remember, today Hezbollah was celebrating the death of Hassan Nasrallah, and it sure looked like there were a lot of Hezbollah operators still fighting. It's the terrorist calculus. Kill one, create two. But in terms of the notion of, number one, the Israeli response to the Hamas attack on October 7th.
Over here just using all my potions.
They see it as total war. They are fighting as if it is total war, the same way America did the same in 1941 to 1945 against the Japanese alone. We lost 3,000. They lost 1 million. We dropped 2 nuclear weapons on Japan.
Yeah, you make very good points. Joe Walsh, final word to you.
I don't think so.
Okay, we've run out of time, sadly, but Joe, final word to you.
Just real quickly, I agree with Betya. The ideology, the hatred of Jews was there before October 7th. The belief that Israel does not have a right to exist was there before October 7th. It didn't need October 7th to go off the charts. There will never be peace in this region as long as the Palestinian people,
fairly
not just Hamas, do not believe Israel has a right to exist. Period.
But there will also never be.
It's just nonsense.
There will also
Palestine
never be.
doesn't exist. When is it going to get through your
that's the point.
that Palestine doesn't exist because of the murderous terrorist state of Israel? How many slaughtered children do you need before you say, oh, right, the Palestinians don't exist? And are the Palestinians in the middle of that slaughter as 15,000 of their children were lit on fire by Israel? Are they supposed to love Israel? Is that the ludicrous, insane demand? Oh, you don't love us enough, we're going to kill more of your children. No, this is all of that just propaganda.
I think the bottom line is
the Mongols killed 800,000 people in Baghdad because it was all-out war. That doesn't mean Israel should do it. That doesn't mean the U.S. should do it.
You only get to peace when the Palestinian people have the same rights, human rights, as everybody else around them, and that has been the running saw in this conflict. And you can make a great argument for both sides throughout the 75 years. But the one, to me, unarguable point is that Palestinians in Gaza in particular have been living with diminished human rights to their neighbors. And that cannot be allowed to continue going forward. And it's going to be incredibly difficult to get to any lasting peace, incredibly difficult to get to a two-state solution. Everybody knows that. But ultimately, you've got to afford the Palestinian people the same basic human rights that we all enjoy. And until that happens, I don't see this ever ending. Anyway, we've got to leave it there. Fascinating debate by all of you. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask for only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate, and entertain. And we'll do it all for free.
Oh,
Independent,
Piers.
uncensored media.
The Jerry Springer of politics. What else we got? What do we got today? I saw PBD was popping up. That's Pasabrea. Diddy's gonna walk. Posse Bray. Yeah, that's a weird story. Gene Hackman, the wife and the dog are dead too. So that was last night, Timcast. Let's just do PBD.
Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm supposed to taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright. Handshake is better than anything I ever signed. Right here. You are a one-on-one. My son's right. I don't think I've ever said that.
Welcome to my world. This is what I do. I just
Can't hear
watch
you.
this stuff
All
and
right,
then I
how you
just
guys
play
doing?
games
All
on
right,
the side.
Rob, what episode are we on today?
553.
553. Okay. All right. So we got a lot of things to talk about. Vinny has lost his patience, but Pam Bondi made an announcement yesterday that today, keyword in what she said was hopefully. Hopefully. So
It's
look,
coming out tomorrow.
Man,
Hopefully.
You better have some
can
hope.
live 40 days.
Oh, what? They
without
give you a
food,
map?
4
That's
days without
new.
water, 4 minutes without air, but 4 seconds with hope. Hopefully. It'll come out today.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That
So
might
let's
have been the
some
most
hope.
profound thing
Let's
you've ever
have some
said,
hope.
Pat.
Let's
Yeah,
have
if
some
that
hope.
list comes
All right,
out
some
today,
hope.
that Epstein list,
Trump
that's
unveils plans to
I'm
sell
definitely
migrant
going to be
gold card
streaming
visas
that.
for $5 million. Some people are
I
pissed
want
off.
that to be
Why
in
would you
real
sell
time.
America? Some people realize this has been around for a while. It's nothing new except the number is a big number. Trump signs executive order to make healthcare prices transparent, told drug makers to move production to U.S. or face tariffs. Trump Airport, Trump Day, GOP loyalists tried to turn adulation into law. People want his face also on, I think, what's that statue in South Dakota we've been to?
That is Mount Rushmore,
Mount Rushmore.
sir.
Yes, they want to do that as well. Trump shares a bonkers AI-generated vision for Gaza utopia, complete with bearded belly dancers and gold statue of himself. One of my friends texted me this yesterday. How do you feel about this? And I have to explain to you what I said to him because it was funny as hell how I responded. By the way, there was a story by Fox News saying woman got arrested. Rob, did you see that? Which was kind of weird, saying woman arrested after whatever at the dealership. And this was the Fox News Post. Woman arrested.
That's her?
Woman arrested.
That's her?
You got to see his pictures.
She has a look now.
Yeah.
Oh
Looks
my
like
God.
She has an Adam's apple.
Is playing jokes with people, and they had a Babylon Bee moment where like a 22-year-old.
Was there like a 3 periods afterwards, like dot, dot, dot?
Confuse the shit out of them, or maybe they really meant it. And we'll talk about it anyways.
Piss
Pastor
Alabama
Jamal,
right there.
Yeah, Pastor
Indeed.
Jamal Bryant calls blacks who celebrated at White House runaway slaves and coons. Are you? This is a pastor, Vinny Jamal, Pastor Jamal. You know Jamal. Lawmakers, we talking about this. So Trump to cabinet, you're out if you're unhappy with Musk. If anybody is not happy with Musk, you're out. Mark Cuban said Elon Musk doesn't give a shit that he's making
here.
Trump's job 1,000 times harder. That's what Cuban said. Meaning maybe he would do a better job and Mark Cuban would make Trump's job 10 times harder. It's kind of like I would have been a better guy for it. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon on Doge efforts, hoping it's quite successful. Bill Maher, Democrats will lose every election without shift on trans issues. Monica Lewinsky said Clinton should have resigned, or at least not thrown me under the bus. Okay, he didn't throw you under the bus.
Shouldn't have
It
said
was
You threw yourself under the desk.
It's a very. Was it really a bus at the White? I don't remember there being a bus at the White House.
Zing.
No, there wasn't a bus at the
Is
No,
this
it was
like
a
a speech
resolution.
Americans do?
Yeah.
Oh,
He loves cigars. She loves
I
cigars.
literally thought she's saying he threw me under the bus. I never remember anything like with
Zero
the pictures being
buses.
Yeah.
Zero buses.
California college student demand the university remove financial aid barriers for illegal immigrants. Brilliant. Only California would think about something like that. However, there's one interesting idea. Californian came up with, whose name happens to be Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of state of California currently today. Soon to be Kamala, the way it's going. He's starting a podcast. Okay, just so you guys know, we'll talk about that as well. His ad for the podcast is fantastic.
He has so much time on his hands.
It's so great.
The state's running so well.
So
It's
great.
not like
Okay.
half the city burned down.
NASA
Start a
estimated
podcast.
20% of asteroid hitting Earth, but kept it quiet. Let me read it one more. By the way, reality is that may be the most important story out of all the things. We just skipped through
Yeah.
it, right? Let me
The
read it to you one
asteroid.
more time, okay?
Yeah.
NASA estimated
Okay.
20% chance of an asteroid hitting Earth, but kept it quiet. You know?
They don't want you to
kept it
panic.
confidential.
What would you do anyway?
America's
That's exactly right.
wealthiest. What do you mean, what would you do?
Pray. Get my shit.
yeah.
There's a lot of
That's a
things.
good point.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You can
Yeah,
learn how to
Vegas,
surf.
cocaine, Adam.
You can learn how to surf if the big waves are coming. 200-foot wave. you're
Yeah,
surfing,
that
you
bunker
jet
that Mark
skis jumping
Zuckerberg
over.
wants. Yeah, get it
I've lived in
deeper in
Miami
the
my
earth.
whole life. I still haven't learned how to surf. I'm gonna start now.
America's wealthiest households, driving nearly half of consumer spending. Moody's. By the way, yesterday I was at an event in Miami with Goldman Sachs, with one of their vice chairs speaking about the economy. He gave he gave 5 points about how he. Yeah, seriously, it's something.
Good
I
event?
can't wait to share. It was a very good.
Where
event.
was
this
it?
guy's a player. He was a former president of the Dallas Federal Reserve. So
Oh, wow.
he's somebody that's a very connected guy. We'll
Did he
talk
work
about
with
that.
our old friend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Progressive YouTuber Destiny, one of Vinny's favorite guys, accused of revenge porn, And Vinny's going to defend him. Adam's going to debate it, but it is what it is. Luigi Mangione begs fans to stop bombarding him with photos in jail.
What?
And he said specifically, limit him to 5 pictures, please.
I've been
too
sending
much.
10 at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine that? That's a story by the Mirror.
Yes, I can.
To say lower the number of messages being sent. All right. And then maybe a couple of the stories that we want to talk about. This next one is one that Adam really wants to talk about. He's got a lot of stats on this. After years of decline, Christianity's growth in the U.S. remains stable.
Yeah.
So have your data that you were talking about earlier. We'll go through that. Fantasy, AI video. I already told you that. A Texas child who was not vaccinated has died of measles, a first for the U.S. in a decade. House Doge hearing erupts over Democrat deeming Trump grifter-in-chief, referring to President Musk. And this guy happens to be a congressman out of Florida. I think he's 28 years old. We'll show him. Monica Lewinsky will go back to it. A new law ignites a wave of new Social Security benefits claim. Bezos, by the way, he said something. Bezos said something here in the interview that Tom was telling me right before we went live. I don't even want to. You have to hear what Bezos said in the interview to the guy that he wants to give the job to. What a powerful statement, Tom. You're absolutely right. Bezos orders Washington Post opinion section to embrace personal liberties and free markets. There was an or else. Okay, there was an or else. I like it. New book to detail cover-up of Biden's death decline before 2024 election. Jake Tapper, and then there's millions of clips of him defending the decline by Jake Tapper. So I don't know how he's going to spin that.
Jake Tapper from CNN wrote that
Jake
book?
Tapper wrote a book talking about Biden's decline while he was defending the decline of Biden.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Very weird. Fired CBS reporter Catherine Herridge reveals photos of files on Hunter Biden, COVID origins, seized by network, attack on investigative journalism. And then there's another story here. Trump encourages the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to fire every single general involved in botched Afghanistan withdrawal. He says, I don't want to tell you what to do with your job, but then Pete Hegseth responded. You'll see what that is. And by the way, do you have that Swalwell's clip of what happened with the guy sitting next to him, found that 90-minute recording that he shared on what he was addressing? Maybe we'll go into that as well, Bob. It's very interesting. Now, let me share with you guys what's going on here. For us, we have right now anywhere between 500 to 3,000 resumes that people post on a weekly basis that they want to work here. And after the last year of fully committing to identifying clearly how to describe the culture to new people that get hired, where we can, people can kind of watch it and see it for themselves and say, this is not a company for me to work at. We have 8 or 9 different companies to work at here at Valuetainment Line Holding. We created a 38-minute video that explains what it is to work here, who Valuetainment is for, who Valuetainment is not for, okay? For the right person, it could be the last job you'll ever have. For the wrong person, there's going to be conflicts on both sides, and we don't want that. We want to be able to find a place that we can work together for a very long time to come. Having said that, this is what we did. We created this, and a lot of our clients at BDC right now are asking for this. So it's the Valuetainment culture, okay, right here, beginning to the end, explaining everything about us, what it is to work here, how we do our meetings with our management team, how we hold each other accountable, what the culture is like. All of that is in this culture deck that we have. So there's 2 things. One, you can purchase this for $19 on the website right there that Rob is showing, this culture deck. Or anybody that places an order and you buy anything over $100, the first 100 are going to get one of these put in the box, sent to you. Again, this is for those of you that either want to find a way to work here. Maybe you're running a business and you want to find out on how to create your own culture deck when you're hiring people. This will give you ideas. Or you have somebody that you have a son, a daughter, a husband, a father, somebody that loves Valuetainment, loves what we do here, and they want to find a way to bring the value to the company, whether it's our consulting firm, Connect, any of that stuff, and you want to give this to them. Again, you can buy these for $20, or you can place an order over $100, and we will send this over to you. And for those of you that want to watch the 38-minute video about our culture, you can simply text the word culture to 310-340-1132. Again, text the word culture, C-U-L-T-U-R-E, culture, to 310-340-1132. We will send you a text back with the video for you to watch on the culture of working at Valuetainment. Again, go place the order on these booklets because we have limited supply for sale. The rest we're keeping for the people that we are hiring. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into the message. The message, the first clip I want to get into, Rob, is Trump's $5 million gold card. First of all, I love this idea, okay? And there's a lot of different stories that goes with this. Again, there's been eruption over this. People saying, why would you do this? You're selling America. You're doing this. You're doing that. Trump unveils plan to sell migrants gold card visas for $5 million. Okay? And this $5 million comes up with some benefits, okay? I will let him describe it to you, and he looks back at Howard Lutnick. Rob, go ahead and play this clip, and then we'll get right into it.
We're going to be doing something else. It's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks out? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
Sure.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Hang on a sec.
You have to invest a certain amount of money in this country in order to qualify for that gold card.
Yeah, exactly.
So the EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
The gold card, well, millions, but the gold card will bring in with it people that create jobs.
Pounce.
Very high-level people. I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college.
You can pause it right there. Okay, we get the idea. I like that. By the way, if you look at the math, if 20 use this, it's $100 million. 200 is $1 billion. 2,000 is $10 billion. 20,000 is $100 billion. 200,000 is $1 trillion.
200,000 people.
How many people from China do you think want to leave that have the $5 million? How many people from other countries do you think have the $5 million?
Oh my
There's a
God.
lot
Maybe
of people
more.
out there. Tom, your thoughts on this?
I think it's great. I think it's
My
really
guys
great.
are not leveled up, by the way.
Last year,
I heard you're not supposed to
went
level up
Austria
until you get
for
Asperger's.
Grand Prix race, part of Bailey's 18th birthday and graduating high school. We had a celebration over there, and I met 2 team owners. And it was kind of interesting before this even came up that very much wanted dual citizenship in the U.S. I made a comment about that. Where do you live? I live in Dallas.
Son of a bitch.
Here. Oh, that's really great. And so I spoke to 2, and it's very interesting. So there's people, I think, everywhere. And this is before I even heard about this, but there is they call it latent demand. When there's demand for a product or something, and people are using an alternative. And I think you're going to see a ton of people that respond to this. And when you take a look on college campuses, you see a lot of children from very wealthy parts of the world coming to our universities. And by the way, I believe it's Johns Hopkins has a special, the hospital. It has a special floor with security for foreign nationals. So they're coming here to educate their kids. They're coming here to get top flight health care. And so now you can come here and have a second home and invest in businesses and pay taxes here. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a very good thing.
By the way, so for those that have lost their shit,
I would have set up my parties different.
Just go to ChatGPT.
Okay, let's go do it.
Go to ChatGPT and type in what are EB5 cards available by other countries? Okay, so watch this.
Okay.
They said this is nothing new, ChatGPT. Other countries offered as well. Canada, $1.2 million investment or loan to the government for over 5 years or
Or a
non-refundable contribution. Bingo. So Canada's got 1.2 million. You think U.S. is at least 4 times a better country than Canada? Sure.
Yeah.
UK, 2 million. In UK, government bonds, shares or loans, residency and path, citizenship, 5 to 6 years, close in 2022 because of security concerns. Makes sense. Australia, $5 million in qualifying Australian investment, 4-year provisional visas and a pathway. Portugal, $280,000 to $500,000. Spain, $500,000. Greece, $250,000 to $500,000. New Zealand, $3 to $10 million. We are cheap compared to New Zealand. Go a little lower. There's a few. Okay.
Go a little lower.
Malta, $750,000. St. Kitts and Nevis, $250,000 or $400,000 in real estate. Dominica, $100,000 to $200,000. Turkey, you want to go to Turkey with Erdogan? $400,000. UAE, $2 million or AED money, which is $545. The point here is, this is the way they started spinning it. Oh my God, he's doing this, he's doing that, all this other stuff that he's doing. Yeah, I think it's actually a low ticket item that they're doing it on. There's a lot of people that want to come to a place like this, and for $5 million, you'll get all the benefits. And a lot of people are willing to pay for it. Adam.
Well, I actually think what the current system is way better. Just leave the border open and let any person just run into the country, no problem. I think that's working out just fine. No, it's absolutely absurd.
Don't
so you're
do
telling
it.
me we're going to bring in money, we're going to bring in job creators, we're going to lower the
You
deficit.
piece of shit.
And people got a problem with that? I mean, you've told the story before about how you went to Panama and they were offering citizenship for like $300,000 or something like that.
Yep.
Cheap.
Scared.
Canada, what is it, $2 million? New
He's gonna do
Zealand,
it.
3 to 10 million. UK, 5 million, whatever it is. To get citizenship from the United States, if you get 200 people around the world,
200,000. 200,000.
I'm just saying 200 people.
Yeah.
At 5 million, that's $1 billion.
That's
So-
insane. Like
You son of a bitch.
it's
What
wild.
Trump is doing is just getting creative to deal with this $37 trillion in debt. And I think Doge's expectations is what they're trying to do is, I think, $2 trillion. So if you're telling me we can get $2 trillion here, a couple billion here, all right, U.S. aid, we're going to stop doing gay plays in Guatemala, whatever it is, let's figure out a way to lower the deficit. How many people did they give payouts to leave the federal government? I think 70,000 people. That's it. Payout, leave. You're
Yeah,
done.
bounce.
They fired another 20,000. We're broke, and Trump's getting creative.
Oh, fuck.
And how to get our money back. I think it's brilliant.
Vinny.
I just think, well, if it's just Trump, guys. If Trump walked on water, they would, you know what the left would say? Oh, he couldn't swim. And I just want to. It's unbelievable. That's exactly what they would say. No, it's pretty good. If you think about it, because it's just Tommy. It's just insanity,
Don't
and that
do
this
it.
brain,
Oh, you son
the TDS, and it's absolutely real. We are winning so hard, Tom. I don't think that they could handle it. Which I think is a great idea. You don't think there's 200,000 people around the world that would love to do
Nice.
it?
All
But I just
right,
want to
yeah,
give a
get
quick
outta
shout
here.
out. Tom was sick
Getting a
yesterday.
little nervous in that
right?
battle.
Dying.
I was at a
Look at
few
Tom right now.
extents.
I just want you guys to know he didn't recover from his cold, Pat. The cold recovered from him. That's how gangster and hardcore Tom is. That show is
Tom
finished.
Norris
Tom
in the
Norris
house.
missed that.
Tom Norris in the house.
Give it to me. I don't care if I get sick.
Anyways, Tom,
Thank you
those
for
of you
the
guys that connected him to give him love, he'll get back to you here soon because it was a lot of them. All right, let's get to the next story.
Boy,
here.
you didn't weigh in.
My weighing is I love it. I'm excited about it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't know what the number's going to be. I don't know how many people are going to want to pay for it. I can tell you thousands of people in China are trying to get the hell out, is what they're trying to do, okay? Thousands are trying to get the hell out. Now, the challenge with China's problem is when people want to get out, they can't get their money
Exactly.
out.
How do you
That's
get your
the
money
problem.
out?
So you may be a billionaire in China, but you're only a billionaire in China. You're not a billionaire anywhere else. You know, other people have tried to get out of it, and the last time we heard about them was 3 years ago. You know who I'm talking about.
The invisible Jack Ma.
When's the last time you heard about Jack Ma talking? All he made is a comment on stage about what's going on there, and the guy's the greatest hide and go seek champion in the last 3 years. We can't find him where he's at.
Well, even in Miami and South Florida, real quick, if you go to Sunny Isles, where I basically grew up, it's all Russian. It's all Russian. Basically, the Russians took their rubles. They got out of there. If you go to Doral, it's all Venezuelan. If you go to Coral Gables, it's all Cuban. Basically, any rich people is like, I got to get out of this freaking country. And they've done that. So
what do you think the number's going to be, though? Or does it even matter? What do you think the number's going to be? You think the number's going to be 200?
I don't even think it matters as long as you're bringing in
how many people,
income.
Rob, can you run a poll? How many people you think are around the world, 8 billion people, let's say, take the 0.1% that can afford to do something like this. 8 billion, 1%, 10% is what? 800 million, 1% is 80 million, 0.1% is 8 million. If we go to 0.01%, it's 800,000. Of the 800,000 that can afford it, would a quarter of them be willing to do this? Do they want to leave their country at 200? I don't know. I don't know if they need to do it, because here's the thing. The people that can afford to do this can afford to come here legally. The people that can afford to do this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the people that have $5 million, guess what? You probably want them to come over here as a guest. Of course. You probably want them to come over here. So I don't know if they're going to need this. I don't know how you set this up. When I was playing poker in Panama many, many years ago with a senator and a couple other guys, they were describing to me that a lot of people are moving here from Dallas, from Chicago, from this. Guys are sitting around the time like, where are you from? Dallas. Oh, really? So what brought you here? No, I live here. How long you been here? 6 years. Why? All you have to do is bring whatever it was at the time, $300,000 to $500,000. Seriously? Yeah. What do you love about it here? Unemployment is 2.3%. They leave you alone. It's a nice place. Good Hard Rock, over here. You can go do this. You can go do that. I'm saying, seriously? Yeah. All right. How about yourself? I'm from Chicago. Why'd you come here? Same exact reason. What kind of business you run? Like, if these guys are gaining these types of people, are there 200,000 people that we can gain at $5 million? I don't know.
No.
I'm actually curious what that number is going to be. What does it say? 1,000, 200,000? A million plus? I don't know if I agree with a million plus. I think that's the range, by the way. I think the range is that 1,000 range-ish. I'd actually love to know within 12 months of introducing this program how many people took advantage of it, right? It's like having the black card at $5 million bucks, okay? Now, if he would have said $5 million as a gold card plus a membership to Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, that would have been a whole different situation.
And to the boardroom.
That would have been the way to piss off half the world.
Oh, my God.
And he would have done it this way. I didn't want to do it. I talked to my team, but Howard, he's a very good salesman. He convinced me, and I said, yes, this makes sense. So I decided as a noble cause, talk to Don, talk to Eric, talk to the kids. We're adding a Mar-a-Lago membership.
Oh, my God. People would have lost their mind. Flip.
How come I can't get a membership over there? Screw these guys, right? Anyways, all right. So let's go to the next story here on what we have going on with this. Lawmakers pressure Bondi to release Epstein's client list. He's on Jesse Waters. Okay. Jesse is sitting down asking her the question that a lot of people want to be asked, and he actually does a great job. And here's the way Pam Bondi responds. Go for it.
Said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk. When can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
Defend the Esper.
Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have, over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
Right there.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is
Dude, release
a
that
lot of
shit.
flight logs, a lot
Release
of names,
it.
a lot of information. But it's
I want to see
pretty
them
sick
names.
what that man did.
Okay, well,
along with his co-defendant.
Let's hope that they don't
Absolutely.
do
And
the
he
same
had
thing
help.
as they did with the
That's for sure.
JFK files. And just
Okay,
put black lines through like
my
pages
humble
and
opinion,
pages.
I want to hear myself a little bit louder because I can't. In my if you're
I think
just
that
a
was
body
JFK
language
files.
reading
Could be
person,
wrong.
guys,
I
do you
might-
really
might be butchering
you
that.
believe like remember the vigor of how she was like, yeah, and we're gonna get everybody. It kind of seems a little bit downplayed right now. Like this list has been sitting there. And by the way, I don't want to know the victims' names. I don't want to see any of the victims. I want the names of the people that flew to that pedophile island. And guess what? In correlation, Tom, with the tapes that you guys have, the FBI, the attorney, guys, the guy had truckloads of camera equipment and freaking videotape for years of
Optimize
everybody
is
that
nice.
was
Forgot
there.
about that.
Again, I don't want to see any crazy stuff. I don't want to see if there is allegedly Bill Clinton or whoever, Bill Gates, in a room with underage people. Can you give us one? Can one person? And I'm not talking about it selfish for me. What about the victims of those children, guys? Children, because sex trafficking, we just say it, I'm not saying us, I'm saying the world's like, you go to Miami Airport, you go to Fort Lauderdale Airport, there's an announcement that's like, remember, be aware of sex trafficking. Like, it's a real problem, and all those kids that were there, Tom, those kids that were not only assaulted, they were doing massages, and who knows, maybe just killed and buried somewhere where nobody's gonna know.
Right.
What
This is
about
where you
them?
get Ultima
They
later
need
on.
justice. I want one of these freaking demons to be in trouble, because I think it's gonna be a release of like this. Oh, so-and-so was on the plane and they
Apparently
went there.
the sword is
and,
better.
And what? I
That's
want to know
what I
who
learned.
did what and who was in trouble, because we
That's a
deserve
hard
one person to
pass.
go to jail. Ghislaine Maxwell is rotting in prison for
Ultimate
20 years.
Esper is
Where,
just-
what about the girls that she was pimping
I don't know
out?
if there's anything
Where are the
better than
customers?
that.
If Tom's a kingpin drug dealer and we arrest Tom, where are all the clients? Who'd you sell the drugs to? You know what I mean?
Tom,
where are those
who'd you
people,
sell it
Tom?
to, Tom?
So I think Tom, Pat, from what the attitude was, and Cash Patel said day 1. I just retweeted it again today. Today's day 4. No names, no nothing. I was going to be released day 1. We deserve it. The victims deserve it, and everybody that was on there needs to be held accountable. Because to me, it almost seems like they read it and they're like, "Oh shoot, maybe some of our friends are on there." That's the problem that I think, Tom. That's me.
I think that's exactly what the problem is. I think the closer you get to actually doing something really big and really noble, the more nervous it gets. And you get big people have been sitting in the shadows and preparing themselves. I mean, this is like the situation with Diddy. Diddy has got a lot of people checkmated.
Yep.
And we heard the recording to his son where he was talking about the pizza boxes. People that I know reached
The
out
what?
to me. Hey, you know what those pizza boxes are? I said, yeah, I know. They're flat servers.
Yeah.
It's a flat server. And so he was, the recording I'm talking about?
Of course.
A what?
So Diddy was telling, and by the way, what's on those flat servers? The recordings
of every room
of
that
every
you were
room
in.
at Diddy's place. And so, and by the way, who's on there? Everybody.
Yep.
So that's the problem. It ain't no party like a Diddy party. And basically, you got
That's for
two.
sure.
You got two people, in LBJ, and you've got, a certain gentleman who was walking around without a shirt in his underwear, and by the way, we know there's more than that. We know there's so much more
you
than
guys
that,
just
and there are
kinda,
some
like,
very
pass
high-end people.
On the
So
idea when he said there's no party like a Diddy party, and Adam said that's for sure. Did you just completely miss that? Like, Adam was. What
You
was,
got.
Listen, I'm gonna come to your next. Tom, please finish your thoughts. Stop interrupting
No,
yourself.
I'm with it, and I think what
Adam, I don't
happens
know.
is
You're with it that
talking
there's no
about?
party like a Diddy party.
no.
Yeah.
I'm with Vinny.
I was with Tom.
I got it.
What happens right now,
Yeah.
what we are seeing right now is the
You rest for a
people
while.
that have the wealth and the
thanks
connections
for the
are
tip. I
protecting
wasn't sure
each
where to
other.
go.
And right now, they are in a picture this. There's 200 people in a circle, and they're all lifting their right hand up, pointing a gun at the next guy's head, and it goes around in a circle. They call it this. This is not a racial statement. They call it a Mexican standoff. So we
Oh,
both
how
die.
dare you.
You die, I die, we
Two
both
Mexican
die.
people are working in there.
Yes.
No, that's
Anyways,
it. And
go
that's
¿Qué es su problema con mi gente mexicanos?
Yeah.
Somos.
He could have made that point without targeting Mexico. But
Next
go
thing
ahead.
you know, you
Like,
want to
what-
play Russian roulette, Tom, and
and I'm going to upset those people in Doral.
We don't wanna do that.
Make your point.
next thing you
Adam.
don't
Go
do it,
ahead.
you're gonna do a Jewish joke.
That was just a little.
Ain't no
too
party like a
much,
Diddy
bro.
party because a Diddy party don't
Get to
stop
the damn
until
point.
the FBI shows
It's not gonna
up.
happen.
Yeah.
It's not
So the
gonna
FBI
happen.
shows up.
Not
But
today.
I think Vinny brings up a good point. People want to know
PBD is just
what
shutting
the hell
them
was
down in
going
the
on with
background.
Epstein. I think they did a poll of who do you want the FBI, Cash Patel, and now our friend Dan Bongino to basically release. I think it was 9/11, JFK, MLK, aliens, Roswell, Epstein, and by far away, it was Epstein. People want to know what's going on. You know who I want to know? You know who I want to know about the Epstein? I don't really want to know about a guy who went one time. Whatever, you went one time too. Who went 10 times? Who went 20 times? Who was the most VIP frequent guest at Epstein Island? Because as you know, someone might be like, hey, we want to do a deal. Let's get him on a plane. Okay, cool. Whoever it may be, you go one time and you go, yeah, I didn't really like the vibe
Who's
there, and I
executive
never went
platinum?
again.
Yeah.
Who's got the lifetime membership that they're hanging out there
exactly
nonstop?
Yeah.
And like even to,
Yeah,
not to
count-
make a joke,
we
even
count
at a
like
Diddy party,
this.
because he's been in Miami. Just to use this analogy, there's like look at this house right here. There's a big difference of being on the lawn versus being in the gazebo versus being in the house or going upstairs into Diddy's bedroom. And that's how these kind of
What
things work.
was it like for you?
So upstairs in Diddy's bedroom, I had a great time with Diddy. No.
Watch
I've
it
never-
because FBI is listening.
That's
like
true.
Tom
But
said.
a lot of
So-
people, whether it's Epstein, whether it's Diddy, have been to parties where you're on the lawn, you get on the flight, whatever. There's a big difference when you're in the VIP of the shadiest people in the world.
But
Big
we're
difference.
like, and
so
here-
that's who I want to know.
And here's the reality, Pat. We know, okay? Epstein did not kill himself in the prison. You interviewed
You
the
don't
brother.
think so?
The brother was like, that's not my brother. There's ties with him with Mossad and you know, recording people and leveraging people and all that stuff.
There's
okay.
people that think he's still alive.
Well, his brother thinks so. Well, I mean, dude, if you did all that you did for them, guess what? They could do the old switcheroo, and then the cameras didn't work. The prisoner, the guards fell asleep.
It's like, how dumb do you think people are?
Yeah, well, no, not even dumb. The fact that we all know, but what are you gonna do? Whatever the media tells us, and then we're promised all the other stuff. MLK, JFK. We're not stupid, guys. There's no way Oswald did the shooting by himself. No way. I'm nasty at shooting. Okay, I cannot do a bolt action, Pat, from back there up there. There's no way.
You could. Maybe.
On a clunky Italian single shot rifle.
That's my boy right there.
From the depository.
So he's doing that, and if you guys watch the Zapruder film, which they did edit, he's choking for a second because one bullet hit him here. He's choking like this, and then Jacqueline tries to come and see if he's okay, and then the fact that they proved in court, in America, in that day and age, in court, a magic bullet. You know what they proved? That the bullet went through him, hit Connolly, and in midair, the bullet did a U-turn and then came back. The word magic means make-believe. It's fake.
Second
okay?
spitter.
And I'll just, guys, is it just me? I want the answer. Stop bullshitting us. If it happened, we know it happened. Tell us.
How do you just go from Epstein to Kennedy? What do we?
Because that's supposed to be released as well.
That's the whole part of it.
The whole
That's
part.
kind of Paulino a little bit, but there's something very weird about this story. I don't know. There's something very weird about the Epstein one that people get very uncomfortable with, and I don't know why.
And did you see? You guys remember? You played it here, where Elon's getting interviewed by Tucker, and dude, this was the most shocking thing. He goes, "There's a lot of billionaires scared about that list." He goes, "Like who?" Tucker goes, "Like Reid Hoffman, your old friend. Should he be worried?" Yes. He did. By the way, that type of response means without a question, Elon knows exactly who Reid Hoffman is as a person. The way that he
that's
just
what I'm
answered,
supposed to
like,
do right
yes. There wasn't even a pause, guys.
Well,
he knows.
They have a lot of history together.
Of course, but
Not saying
he's
one
been
way
to
or
the
another.
Remember
island,
some
right?
things
He's flown
about
on
this
the
game.
thing, right?
This game is
Allegedly,
amazing.
he's
We
been
don't
there.
know. That's the whole deal.
Well,
I saw a debate
we want
online
accountability,
today
guys, not
between,
for me, for the
just like
girls,
the greatest,
for the young boys that all
I think
were
it was the
assaulted,
greatest
and
game
none of them were ever
of
going
all
to be heard of
time.
ever
Not
again.
even just Super Nintendo, but it was Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy
then the
6.
question
And
becomes, one,
it was a pretty
it's
heated debate.
either-
Most people said Chrono Trigger,
because
but-
the left wants to say,
which
well,
is fair.
it's because
I get
Trump
it.
was, friends with Epstein.
I was
They'll
late
show
to the game on
right,
Chrono
too.
Trigger, though.
It
was a good
lot of
game.
the
I just, I
people
don't
that
know.
funded
This one, I
the
grew up on this
campaign,
one. I learned how to read from this
they
game.
were getting
Top of my
assets
class for spelling and
from
reading
what
in
was
second and
going
third
on
grade
that
because
island.
of this and
They're
Final
like,
Fantasy
"Look, man,
4.
If you want the support,
Final
don't
Fantasy
release
2,
that."
excuse me, Super
Because
Nintendo.
we got a lot of intel on a lot of world leaders around the world, and we lose that leverage that we have on them. So could it be the fact that there is a leverage on the people around the world, and that's the reason why they don't want to give it up? Because if they release it, they automatically lose that leverage permanently to be able to get what they want out of the other people? I don't know.
Maybe.
I think I'm trying to really think why they're hesitant about this. Kids were involved. What are you hesitant about, right? That's the part. I don't have the answers. We're just, a bunch of podcasters, business owners. We're doing what we're doing here right now to see what's going
just
on.
really fast, what do you think she's going to release? What information you think are we going to get today?
I don't think it's going to be what you want to see. I think it's going to be
vague.
Maybe 2 or
Look
3
at this like
stories, and there's
speed
going to be a lot
function
of blacks.
because it's not just
font,
basic
a black
attacks. That's
highlight,
what.
that Tom called it, right? A
The
black
CIA's
highlight.
groovy black highlight.
That's right. The CIA's
Yeah,
groovy
Final
black
Fantasy
highlighter, which means
4. I got that on my
a lot of the
phone,
stuff
and I
that
do
they
the
don't want the
speed
world to
function,
see,
and it's
they're
just
not gonna
physical
show.
attacks. That's all
what
they
I
do.
believe.
They'll answer to
It's
God
just
at some
basic.
point, which that's the only
We'll see.
comfortable.
We will
They were
see.
throwing
We will
down
see.
like
Now,
blitzes and
on
stuff
some
right there.
bright
That was
side,
sweet.
Gavin Newsom starting a podcast. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you were excited. So this is exciting stuff.
And it actually
Social
speeds up,
media
too.
blasts
I noticed.
gaslighting Gavin Newsom after he announces new podcast. Let's run the ad for him.
I don't
Ron.
want
Go ahead and
her
run the ad.
using a
Go
bunch
for
of
it.
magic,
Play it.
though. That's
we
the
need
problem.
to change the conversation, and that's why I'm launching a new
Just need to
podcast
stop it when
page,
she
and this is
comes
gonna
around
be
and hit it.
anything but
Yeah.
the Ordinary Politician podcast. I'm going to be talking to people
Oh,
directly
no.
that I disagree with,
yeah, Charlie Kirk.
as well as people I look up to. But more important than
He's
anything
making
else,
a
I'll be
podcast.
talking directly with you, the listener. Real conversations. What's going on with the cost of eggs? What are the impacts, real
Oh, my
impacts
God.
to you around tariffs? What power does an executive order really have? And what's really going on inside of Doge? Look, there's an onslaught of information that we take in. So let's take it
This
to the
is your
sources
defense?
without the typical political mumbo jumbo. In the
'Cause you
first
know
few
you're gonna
weeks, we're
get
gonna be sitting down
dug
with some of
up.
the biggest leaders and architects.
And it's all
in
the
mega
skeletons
movement.
in your closet are
This
going to come
is
flowing
Gavin
out.
Newsom.
I was kind of wondering what their strategy was going to be with that, because you know, like the
everybody's
wave is
talking,
coming,
which
so it's
means
like, what do you
It's
do?
probably getting some eyeballs. By the way, is it a YouTube channel or it doesn't show YouTube?
No, it says
Spotify.
iHeart.
Huh, interesting. Okay,
Right.
how do you think it's going to do?
Just
Tom?
gonna try to discredit
it will
Doge.
initially
Probably it's going to be their
do
best
well
method.
on what I call the power of curiosity. So if you take a look back at the history of Bruce Springsteen and Obama, who put something together, remember that?
Yeah, of
And
course. It got canceled within a year, right?
What happened?
It got canceled.
Exactly.
Within a year.
Within a year. So it went
I
through the
believe.
curiosity phase. They had some guests, it had some things, had little fizz, and then it goes away. I think that's what's going to happen here. You're going to have some
Little
interest.
fizz.
You know, you're going to have a lot of people do it. I remember a radio station that was in California, and they announced that they were going to be nothing but the left. And there was big billboards that were all over Ventura
Yeah, I
Boulevard,
remember this city.
which is
this
like
the
Federal
auction
Highway
city.
of South Florida. And
Yeah.
map of the,
I don't think
had
I
this
can
big blue
join yet,
California. Right, we're on the
Oh,
left.
no,
and
this
we're
is the
proud.
mansion.
And so
That's right.
and it didn't last a minute, because the fact of the matter was,
Is this the
conservative
auction?
radio works
Yeah.
because it's logical to the hearts of the people and it draws the listeners, which is something that liberals freak out about. They don't understand.
Yeah, I think
Find
we can't do
me
that till later.
one liberal of the order of like a Limbaugh or a Levin who has been able to build an audience to sustain it on liberal talk radio. It's not there.
I don't know. To be a what do you call it?
Devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate. The number one podcast right now on Spotify is the Midas Touch, as of right now. Okay?
What's that?
I think they're liberals. No, is that what it is?
I think it's a liberal slant about
Midas Touch.
This guy was a top lawyer for Colin Kaepernick.
Oh,
okay.
Are they three brothers? Is that who they are?
I think what? No, I just looked at it right now, and I saw that's
Three
that's where it's
brothers
at.
with very unique backgrounds.
But
a lawyer.
yeah, but the point to me is it the fact, like, because just this week we were kind of surprised that Rachel Maddow has 2 million listeners.
Yes.
Right? It's a lot of listeners, Tom. Okay? It's a lot of listeners. The point you make about the left's ideas not having logic to be able to last long term makes sense. Maybe it's a great season to start it because there's an enemy. Like, podcasting was easy for conservatives under Biden than it is under Trump. Because under Trump, what are you doing? Just, yeah, great idea. Yeah, great idea.
Cheerleading.
Yeah, great
Ditto.
idea.
Why would you
You know,
do that?
I'm
Yeah.
so bored out
Why
of
is
my
the
mind. And it
menthol
just,
vest
I don't know.
more
Let me tell you. I don't
expensive
know.
than
Let me tell you. I think this is actually a very good time for liberals to start a
Well,
podcast.
it's
I
better
actually
in
think it's a
every
very
way.
good time to
That's
start it
kinda
and see
weird.
what you
All
could do. I don't know. I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and just.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think Gavin Newsom has a gravitas to do it. He's going to have a bunch of guests. People are going to see that he's just this vacuous son of a bitch. And
yes,
and that's going to be that.
You vacuous, Gavin.
And
He's
within
got-
a
he's
year,
got bizzed up.
within a year, it's done. This, and by the way, remember, he has to shut this off the minute he announces he's running for president. So this is, let's call it what it is. This is publicity and campaign.
Bingo.
And
Yeah,
remember,
that's what I said.
remember, he was a regular. What podcast was he a regular on? He was like the third wheel. He was on it like every third
I don't.
Gavin was?
Yeah, he
Which
was like he
podcast?
was like a regular guest on a podcast going all the way through election season.
Was it
Who?
Adam
What?
Carolla or
No,
Well, yeah, because I was going to
Oh,
say.
no, it was, wasn't it?
It's another
I saw
podcast. Tom's
some
right.
segment of that.
Was it the one with the 3 actors with Jason Bateman and those guys? I really don't know.
I don't.
Vinny, what do you think about this?
Well, first of all, the fact, the gall,
You need those.
the
You
audacity
need
for
those.
him to start a podcast when Adam nailed it. Your state is still smoking from the freaking $250 billion damage, almost 1,700 structures burned to the ground, lives lost. You're already talking about building back and low-income housing and doing his little worm snake dance, talking to Shapiro from Hawaii and how they're going to get land grabs and all that shit. And then $24 billion wasted on homeless, highest taxes, lets everybody vote, no ID, all this shit, high-speed rail, $14 billion. Your state has gone to complete poop. Okay, and you know this. Look at what we have to go through. What we do with the prep, have with everything, with you, with Rob, and all of us in the stories. It takes a lot of time and effort to do this. Okay, shame on him. Like what was the first thing he said? We need to change the conversation. No, we need to change the governor of California. That's
Thank
what it
you.
is. And you made a great point, Tom. And you made a great point because I had it written down here. He knows he's done. He's doing the 2027 run. Kamala Harris, she popped out. All of a sudden, she's in the Palisades, looking around.
You can smell
Yeah,
the
you
smoke.
can smell the smoke. Get the
I
hell
need a double
outta here.
tall crown and water, please.
Yeah, exactly. She looks like she's been partying, which I can't. She spent $1 billion. She might as well keep partying and keep the party going. But this is all strategic. By the way, he's not going to last on a podcast. And
Can't wait
because I
for
saw in the
that.
montage,
Genji
Charlie
glove,
Kirk's
Genji
face,
glove, however
I
you say it.
dare him to sit down with you.
Use 2 claws,
Charlie
2
Kirk,
swords.
Tucker Carlson, Adam Carolla sat with him, Rob, and Adam Carolla
Oh,
ate him up.
stretch
into
him
he had
today.
Nothing to do. I get the shift. I respect the play because he has to. Guys, there's nobody else podcasting. All right, but I'm going
I
to say
had
this to
an
Californians.
endoscopy the other day, and I
as all
still
my
feel
family
like
lives
I
there,
have
and I lived there for over 15
some of
years.
the after effects
If
of
you
that
guys
anesthesia.
vote for these people, if you vote for Kamala Harris for your governor, or you vote for this
Strong
guy for president,
stuff.
I have zero remorse for you when shit hits the fan harder than it already is. Period. That's it.
Adam.
Well, so he's going to start this podcast, Gavin Newsom. I don't know if you know this, guys.
What's he even
The
going to talk
comment
about?
section in
Like,
podcasts can be pretty brutal.
definitely not
Talk to us about
accomplishments.
I don't know. From what I
Unless
hear,
they're just faux
from what I hear,
accomplishments.
they'll really let you know how they feel. I don't think we have anyone like that lets us know exactly how they feel, or that if they should fire somebody for the last
Zero
5
sympathy.
years.
Yeah.
Zero sympathy, but they could also be pretty insightful.
What's your point, though? Gavin is battle
What's your
tested.
point?
What's your point, Adam?
Thank you for throwing that in there, but I will tell
Yeah.
you, battle tested. We'll see about that.
You don't think Gavin's battle tested?
Well,
What's your point?
He showed up to the Republican debates
Pat,
and just talking.
Pat, you just cut me off.
He's not a guide. If you're saying that the fact
What I'm saying.
tell us what you're saying.
About to get some
What's
espers,
your point?
guys. And then I can
He's
finally
battle
grind.
tested. You said he's not battle tested.
I'm saying
he's
he
battle
is.
tested.
I never said he's not
I
battle
still don't
tested.
really
I'm saying the
understand it,
comment
but
section
you're
could be
supposed to have
pretty
espers
brutal.
before you
let's
really
see
start to
how
level up.
long He will
Some
go
sort of
without
esper
turning the
leveling.
comment section off.
Yeah.
How many times have you showed Twitter links or different articles or news websites that they turn the comment section off?
Yeah.
So my question is, how long will he keep it on? But I think he did one thing. I think he learned exactly what Kamala Harris didn't do. What an idiot move by Kamala Harris not going on Joe Rogan. Are you kidding me? So I think Gavin Newsom is like reading the tea leaves, seeing what's going on out there, and says, let me get out there. And then I do agree with you, Pat. I think there's going to be a resurgence of liberal podcasts, or a surge of liberal podcasts, just like there was a surge of conservative podcasts where there was the era of 4 years where they were banning free speech.
That's right.
So now they're going to come back and be like, you see what Trump's doing? You see what Elon's doing? I mean, you just dealt with this yourself. A guy tried to spit in your face
Yeah.
in D.C.
Spit on the federal agent's face.
That's what I'm saying. He tried.
Right. And he got on
his
his back.
ass.
Exactly.
on his back.
But these people are out
It
there.
was
and
it
they're gonna
was
be
a
starting
tolerance
Let me tell you,
spit.
like, you know, the level of hate you've gotten on the podcast.
It's empathetic
of comments,
spit.
for example, or what people say when they disagree with me, or whoever else.
There's-
Vinny.
there's a spit of
everybody loves
love.
Adam. But you know, for the most part, everybody loves Tom. Forgive me. So,
Well as Raymond.
but
And
you know,
cut that, guys.
when it comes down to this, Tom, as much as you think that people are giving you hate, do you know what the level of hate
What's the
Newsom's
clock?
gotten
There's
versus
this
you?
clock in here. You're
I actually
supposed
want
to
you to
wind.
think
I can't
about it.
remember the
You're
numbers.
saying, yeah, no, you. Like, think about how much negativity
Used to have
you've
the shit
gotten from the
memorized.
podcast. Or Cuomo.
Little bit.
What do you think Newsom's on?
Times 100.
No.
Times a billion.
Way more. They
Way
want
more. No. Let me just put it to you this way. So here's what you got to...
Rob, pull that up.
This guy's formidable. People cannot take this guy lightly. Rob, go to his account. Go to his Twitter account. So tell me this. I want you to think about if it was anybody else that was announcing something like this, what do you think the comment sections are going to be? Don't look, Tom. Don't look. Look at me. Don't look at him. Don't look at me.
Congratulations.
No.
It's about time.
Do you think they would close the comment sections or leave it open? The average liberal on the left,
Close them.
Biden,
Close
Kamala, they would close it.
1,000%.
This is why this is Newsom. Go to Newsom. Newsom doesn't give a shit. Look at the comment section.
He's not reading it.
No, but look at the comment section. They don't give a shit. They don't care at all. Look at this. These are
Yeah, there's probably going to be
disrespectful,
some
right?
comments
He does
here.
not give a, he doesn't give a flying hoot for anybody on what they're saying. So this doesn't mean
Yeah,
that
everybody's just dogging.
His ideas are good.
Good.
This doesn't mean any of that stuff. This guy is a battle-tested, knowing how to dance and spin. And the debate he did with DeSantis, there was no argument that he had statistically, but he made it seem like he won the debate because he is so shifty and he knows how to dodge. He's like Mayweather. Like a boxer that knows how to kind of do that versus the other guys that he knows how to go do these types of things. So, yeah, do I think he's going to be continuing to do this? No, he's going to do this for probably a year and a half. You know who he took this page out of? Hey, Vivek did this. Vivek went and did a podcast for a year and a half. I'm on the road. I'm doing a podcast. Said, I'm going to put the podcast on pause. And now he's running for governor, right, for Ohio. This guy's going to be doing this, and I'm sorry, we have to put this on podcast on pause because I'm running for president. And after all these conversations I had both sides, I have a better understanding of why the MAGA
Man, that
voters
Magic
doing this.
defense.
I never realized
I don't remember hitting that
this is
hard
a
before.
very good sequencing leading up into
Maybe it was
winning
just higher level.
independence over in 2027, 2028. Strategically, I love it. I love it. And quite frankly, as somebody who, is in the space, doing podcasts, I love competition. I love other guys getting in and trying to see how they're going to be doing it. He's not doing this to be a podcaster that's going to be competing forever and doing this. No.
I don't even think there's a shop here.
This is his official presidential campaign has begun yesterday.
Yep.
The moment Biden opened up his Instagram account, you know who was one of the first comments in the first 10 minutes? Me.
I
commented, I said,
city.
he is officially about to announce that he's running for president. And he did it a year later. Okay?
Oh, Suplex City.
Biden never had an Instagram account. A year later, what did Biden announce? I'm running for office. And then what happened? He became president.
What is
this is his way of
3-2?
saying, I'm running for office 2027. Now let's see what's going to happen, who he's going to bring. I'd love to see him in Charlie. I'd love to see him in a lot of different guys. I actually think DeSantis would go on and have the conversation with them. I think he can have a lot of guys that could go there to have the conversation with them. If he does, it should be good. And he's in California, so he's probably going to end up having Shamat on, Sachs on. He's probably going to have some of those guys on if they agree to go on it. I think that's going to be.
He's going to have no problem getting guests on.
And I hope that they say you have to do this, meaning long form. You can't
BRB.
edit. This has to be just because
whoever that goes there, my recommendation to anybody that goes there, record the entire podcast yourself.
Yep.
Ask them. I'm only willing to do this if I can bring my camera in to record. Do what the president did when 60 Minutes interviewed him and they tried to edit and all this other stuff. By the way, did you see what the president said yesterday when a lady asked him about 60 Minutes on CBS and soon and how much money will it be? You didn't see this thing here, Rob?
Nice block.
Is this the one?
Nice block.
I believe so. This one in your notes?
Is this the one in my notes? Watch this clip here. Watch this. Go for it.
President, you're in litigation with CBS News. Is this a case that you'd like to see go to trial, or are you open
With
to
who?
CBS?
CBS?
With you?
Well, CBS did something that was amazing. Kamala was unable to answer a question properly, and they took the question that they asked and they inserted an answer. They gave her an answer. This was 2 days before the election, right before the Sunday night before the election. And
that
they
edit
wrote out
was
they put
that was
her
ballsy.
words, from another question that was asked about a half an hour later, and they put that into the question. Nobody's ever even heard of it before. Nobody's ever heard of anything like this before, but they then did it.
Nobody's ever seen anything like
they
this.
say on numerous occasions, and the FCC is looking at it very strongly, and everybody's looking at it, but nobody's ever seen anything. Think of it. They took her answers
It's one of his favorite
and they
lines.
changed them.
Nobody's
And I
ever
don't mean they
seen
changed
anything
a
like
word
this
or two,
before.
Or they cut off a half a sentence, or they cut off a couple of words. I mean, I've had that happen too, but that you just say, then they say, well, we want brevity. We wanted to do it for time. They took out her answer and they inserted an entirely different answer that made her sound competent. And they did this, and nobody's ever. I thought I've heard of everything when it comes to
He almost
that
said it
stuff.
again. He almost did
I've
it.
never heard of it. Nobody's ever seen it.
Nobody's ever seen
So
it. Yeah, oh,
soon,
he
and
got it. He got it
We are
in.
in discussions of settlement.
What would a number be approximately? What's a number that you would?
I think it's a lot.
Look at Lutnick.
Probably did affect.
That was good.
As I said, too big to rig, but it probably did affect the election. Probably could have won by more, but I could have lost the election because of that.
Yeah, but so guess what? That's
like
the point.
Twitter files.
Whoever that goes and interviews with them, bring the cameraman. So I'll do it as long as you let me record it, so we can't
Smart.
let you
Good advice.
edit or do any of the other stuff that some
That's
people in the
pretty
past are
messed
doing.
up
And if you
because
don't
her
do it,
real
respect
answer
you.
was
If you
just
do,
all
at
over the
least we have
place.
the message here as well. And by the way, President Trump was asked about this whole conversation with Elon Musk.
Phoenix Downs,
Trump
that's what I'm here
message
for.
to the cabinet, Rob. I think there's a short clip. It's like 7 seconds. If you do have it, where when they ask him, "Hey, is this it, Rob?"
This one's 30, but it's
500.
it's the shortest one.
Go for it. This is what
Yikes.
he had to say to the people that
Why so
are not
spandy?
happy with Musk. Go for it.
And let the cabinet speak just for a second. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well,
I just
throw
need
him
to
out.
grind. Can't grind to get the espers though.
Very interesting seeing this cabinet right here.
He's being funny.
Look at this cabinet. Look at these beautiful people. We got Marco Rubio. We got my boy Doug. RFK, somehow tanner than ever.
What do you think about
Disagree
that?
a
I
little
love
bit,
it.
but I will.
You got Pete Hegseth right there.
What
You
do
got.
you think about the fact that if you don't like him, throw him out?
I think it was I think it,
It
was
was sarcastic.
jokingly
It
sarcastic,
was
and he was
sarcastic.
smiling. He's just they're just trying to use anything back to try to make it like just. And now you make a great point. Look at how dope that freaking cabinet meeting.
We go
looks,
back
bro.
to that picture.
RFK, Rubio, Lutnick. Dude, what up? Like that.
It's very interesting who gets to sit where. There must be some protocol.
That's Vince
to who
McMahon's
sits
wife
where.
to the left, if I'm not
Hierarchy.
mistaken.
That is Linda.
Yeah,
Is that Linda?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
What is she doing?
That's
in
the
that?
ultimate
Oh,
warrior.
Secretary
to the
of
left.
Education.
Just
Who
ready
is
to.
that? Is that the Bushwick brothers?
Undertaker.
That's what they're
She
looking
is
at,
the
right?
Secretary of Education, I believe.
Yeah.
I think she took Betsy DeVos's job.
Really?
Oh,
and
wow.
he said, make sure to
She, I don't know if
replace
she's
your
already
job.
in,
That's what
but
he
yeah,
said.
Look at
she
I
was.
Tulsi.
hope you fire yourself.
She was the
Oh,
pick.
look at
anyway.
Tulsi in the red. back
Which
there.
seems
Kelly
weird,
Loeffler,
but
SBA.
I don't
These
know.
are historic, days, moments. These will be moments that you'll be watching in movies come 20 years from now when you take your kids and
That's
you're
it.
sitting there watching saying, Daddy went through these seasons live when this was
Yeah.
taking place.
And the two, but I think about it for just in a seating arrangement. The two closest seats to the president of
Oh,
the United
that
States are Mark Rubio, and what's his job title?
He's the
State.
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State,
Vincent.
and Pete
Oh,
Hegseth,
Bioblast.
Secretary of Hair Gel.
of Hair Gel and Defense,
And Defense.
Studness.
Duffy is right there as well.
Yeah,
you got
look at
Duffy
that.
right
That's-
there. You had
Who's that, Pat?
RFK. You got Duffy.
Oh,
to
and
the
who's
left
Pat?
of,
CIA?
Lutnick.
CIA?
It's hard.
Ratcliffe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway,
Where's Kash Patel?
well, let me go to a different story of maybe that's kind of something that
go.
happened many years ago here. So Monica Lewinsky, Clinton
Nice.
should have resigned, or at least not thrown me under the bus. So there's now speculation
Zozo.
that she was
Never heard of
thrown
it.
under the bus, and we don't know the facts behind this. Some are saying that is a figurative speech, but go play this clip, Rob. Go for it.
When you look back, once the news broke and how everything was handled by media and the White House, how do you think it should have been handled? Have you thought about
Oh
that?
my gosh. I think that he should have said. I'm like now thinking this through. I don't think I've answered this question before. But good question. I haven't been asked that before.
Get it out of
so,
your mouth.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think that the right way to handle a situation like that would have been to probably say it was, nobody's business and to resign, or to find a way to find
my
a way
God.
of staying in office that was
Young girl. Go ahead.
not lying and not throwing a young person who is just starting out in the world under the bus. And at the same time, I'm hearing myself say that, and it's like, okay, but we're also talking about
Where do you buy that stuff? I do not remember.
the most powerful office in the world.
Is she a? Wait, I'm so confused.
No, and she says, as a young girl, they should have been as a young girl who was innocent, who was just an intern. As a young girl, she was 22 at the time.
Yeah, 22. You're banging a married man.
No, I don't know about banging.
But whatever the hell
think it was
well,
just a
whatever the hell it was.
there was no bang.
You're a victim, and you want me to respect. You're on a bang bang. You're on a podcast called "Call Her Daddy,"
Make the line.
and you want me to take
Stack
you
up.
serious?
Everybody's
Give
done
me a
it.
freaking break. You know exactly what the hell you were doing.
maybe not.
All right, with all the allegations too that she was working.
the stairs.
This was a Mossad honeypot. Since we're talking about honeypots, that was in what's his name's book, Gordon Thomas's book, Gideon Spies, which they claim that Israel had recordings of Clinton and Lewinsky's conversations. Let's just be honest. Zero remorse for you. You chose to sleep with a guy married, and I get it. He's married to Hillary. It's rough in these streets. You got to get what you got to get. But I have zero remorse. Zero remorse. Anybody, I don't care about your age. You're sleeping with a married man, and he's the president of the United States. You were trying to, that's damaging the freaking reputation of the country. I have no remorse for her. Call her daddy.
I look at it this way.
Yeah. I would actually agree with that.
So the president is getting Hummers in the Oval Office.
Not the vehicle.
And
Tom,
No
how do you
H3s.
know that concept?
and
I'm telling you guys, Tom is the dirtiest
and
mind.
it's sort of interesting. At that time, the federal
What
budget was almost
was that?
balanced.
Did I just see?
And we had very low deficits.
I think you got
And
a
so,
new.
I don't know
tag.
why. I don't know why other
You
presidents.
sound like this is he was
So
rewarding.
you're
What's your
saying
point,
if
Adam?
the president's getting some nookie with some cigar situation, it helps the
Don't have any
economy?
more of those, though.
Yeah, you could. I'm
Want
just
that
saying.
fire dance?
You know, weird cause and effect. No, you know, you look at it like this, and people who are enamored, you know, and she got so much media and she got so much support that she becomes very self-enamored.
Yeah.
As if she doesn't kind of back up, and to back up, she has to kind of minimize her view of herself to say, wait a minute, it was a intern that gave a couple Hummers to the president.
What is a Hummer, Tom?
It's not the car that
And-
Pat used to work on in the military.
Oral sex.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
How have
Give him a
you've
blowjob.
never heard of that, Adam?
Wow.
Couple of them, right?
Tom.
She was employed. So does
Maybe
it.
that's an older
Never
saying.
turned
I don't know.
Tom.
And so when you look at that, you drag
He's
him
older
into,
than me, though,
you drag
so-
him into court,
Yep.
right? You drag him into
Mambo
court.
number
you get a
five.
Maybe I'm
jury,
wrong.
and his defense is, "Come on, America, I'm married to Hillary," and we all would have gone, you know, you know,
Look at
you know,
her.
Bill. You know, the economy's good and things are going on. Maybe you give her a settlement like everybody does,
Yeah.
and we get back to running the country.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Tom?
We get your point.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Would you be cool? And I'm being dead serious. I want to know what all you guys say. If a president
I hate that
cheating on his
banishing
wife and
shit.
sleeping with an intern would flip and get us back to
It's
the
gonna
budget
miss.
to be like, would you
It's
be
gonna
cool with
miss.
that? If it helps the
It's gonna
economy
miss.
get back to where we're not in
Buddy,
debt.
let me tell you something.
Are you cool
the
with that?
president can get a Hummer every day for
If it fixes
365
the
times
economy.
8 years. Nobody cares.
No, but I'm
we
saying-
want the president to be in a good mood. We want him being very stable.
Well, Hillary didn't help at all. He needed Monica to help us.
I agree with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know, Dave Chappelle had an amazing joke about Monica Lewinsky. He goes, "Do you guys understand how powerful it is to be sitting in the Oval Office? I don't think you guys understand this. This guy is so famous and he's so powerful and he runs the world that if you give him a Hummer, now you're famous.
Yeah.
Now you're writing books.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah,
for
how
your
do you start
career. Go
writing a
make
book
something out of
after
yourself.
an incident
I don't
like
think you
that?
understand how famous and powerful Bill Clinton was. It's actually a damn
We're so
tragedy.
stupid
That's
to like
what's
actually buy
happening.
into something like that.
Thank
It's
you.
like, yeah, I kind
It's
of
actually a
want to
damn
see what she has
tragedy
to
what's
say.
happened to Bill Clinton. Because this guy was a great president. I think you said you voted for him, Pat. This guy had peace, prosperity. He had one little Hummer situation.
Yeah, but have you seen him?
And all of a sudden, people think he's basically a pedophile.
By the way, this is actually this is about the story's about her.
But nobody cares about
she's
her.
acting like, you know, at 22 years old.
Like
at
she was
18 years
completely
old,
naive.
you've gone to college 4 years. You're not naive. You knew what you were doing. It's not like
Yeah, she
you're.
knew what she was doing.
What is an adult nowadays? Isn't it 18?
18
So what is
years
it?
old
At
with this
21, you can
21?
order alcohol. If you have the government trusts you to join the military, have a cigarette, and have alcohol, you made that decision. So don't give me this victimhood mentality stuff that, oh my God, I can't believe this. He should have resigned. He should have done this. It's just, you know, You got some publicity.
Oh,
and
she was
she's trying
saying
to
that
make a comeback
he-
to get a little bit more.
Bill
publicity.
should.
Good for you.
Okay, I got you. I'm on the same page now.
And wish you nothing but the best. I will tell you, it's the part about it that I would have taken a different angle is the fact that no matter what job interview you go to, you're at a job and
Hot potion, get out of here.
and you say,
you're like,
actually think about your interviewing her.
Monica.
You got the
Tell me
resume,
about
and your
yourself.
assistant says, yeah, she's applying for VP of Operations. All right, so what's her name?
Monica.
Monica Lewinsky. She just says Monica. And you're sitting, you're looking at the resume, and she walks in. Hi, Mr. Bet David, and you're like,
recognize that.
Hi. So
I call her Monica Lewinsky.
what kind of experience do you have? And then you're like,
And she,
hey,
"Why,
can I?
Where'd you go, Vinny? Hey, Vinny, where you going,
show
buddy?
you really fast.
Just for the sake of insurance, can we get the HR guys in here, please, to watch the interview?
Yeah.
And you conduct any interview.
Yeah.
What is the
Burning
toughest thing you ever
fist, is
overcame
that-
in your life?
That must.
And you
what?
can't even say like you can't even use
that the
certain
dragon
verbs,
fist or whatever?
like overcome.
Why are you changing all the names? What's the point of changing all the names to the stuff?
Like certain
Just leave
words
it the
you have to be
same.
I overcame a lot of
There's nothing wrong with a dragon fist. It's better than
What was the
burning
biggest
fist.
challenge you've ever dealt with?
Pretty sure that's
Yeah,
what
so
you got right
all
there.
I'm saying is, that's the part that to me it's challenging for the
Stupid.
rest
How'd
of
you
your
like
life.
your last job? It really
P.B. Herman
blew.
going for a job. P.B. Herman goes for a job. What do you say? There's certain
gotta
things
kill
that
this
just funny, right?
mofo.
You know the way. Who was that comedian that C.K. was? What is it?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. What
Oh,
happened
Louis
to him?
C.K.
He had an issue.
He was, and he would bring two girls in there, and I guess one or two of them
Let's
were
choose our
comedians.
words wisely here, Vinny.
There were two, according to the victims report, if you want to call them that,
Victims.
Just
there were
straight
two women inside of
sarcasm.
a hotel room with Louis C.K. Louis C.K. asked if he could masturbate in front of them, and they said yes, and then he proceeded to,
Oh,
and then they were
I got
shocked.
my,
Which is
uh,
a victimless-
He did
my
what-
fire
yeah, like,
dance.
they were
What
shocked.
was the name of that? Yeah, they got to change the name of everything. What is that?
Here's what he did. He
Why?
used that as a self-deprecation. Most
What's the
came back.
point?
Now he's doing shows. He's back at it again.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's the approach
Flurry?
to take.
Oh, Flurry
Kind
is.
of get over it and move on.
It's like
Because
I
Jeffrey
can't remember the name of
Tubin.
it.
I don't know.
Remember
Or no,
Tubin
they were
came
just
in here?
numbers
It's like,
back then. That's
Look,
right.
now that we've addressed that, let's move on to the next story. No, let's not. Let's
No, let's
continue.
stay here.
I say we keep talking about this.
keep
Why
going.
would
Something
you
else we
do
have to
that?
remember.
Oh, that's good.
This person who is saying that, Monica, she was on Larry King Live, and she admitted that when she was 18 years old and going to Lewis and Clark College, which I think is in Oregon, that she was having an affair with a 40-year-old married man that she's never identified.
Whoops.
Lewinsky said this to Larry King. Then she comes back down. By the way, she went to Beverly Hills High School, grew up
Not
in
cool, bro.
L.A.,
Not cool.
around a lot of fame, and her parents had influence. And they picked up the phone and they called a man named Leon Panetta.
Yep.
Yeah,
And they got
Secretary of
her an
Defense.
unpaid internship. So she understood how power and influence and phone calls work.
Whoop that dude's
She
ass.
absolutely understood, and she had previously.
That's the part I just have no tolerance for.
I love
But
it.
my
Yeah.
point, Pat, is everyone's
wait till the
looking at
dark
it
world
as
and the
this
dragons.
innocent girl went
Those
to
are fun.
Washington.
Yeah.
No, if she's telling the truth, this innocent girl had
Those are
just
fun
gotten off
stuff.
a romp with a 40-year-old married guy, goes to Washington.
Here's a story, Tom. My ex was sleeping with Monica Lewinsky before she betted Bill Clinton.
Bingo.
So she's been a homewrecker for a minute.
She knows what she's
Kind
doing.
of cute though.
You know-
to be honest with each other.
Really?
She's kind of hot.
Well, that's like Pat. Who's the girl that we just talked about the other day? The porn star Lily Phillips. She's 22, 23
Oh,
years
yeah,
old.
that Rust
She had
stuff,
sex
that's-
with
Watch out
100
with the
men.
images, Rob. Don't
Sorry,
do that.
yeah,
We did
Rob.
that last time.
I think that's
Rob, let's go
later
back to
on.
your search history. She had sex with 100 men and she got
just can't
pregnant.
remember. It's
It'd be
been
the
too long.
equivalent of her being like, "Look, I was just a young 22-year-old girl. I didn't know what I was doing."
Yeah,
and
stop
I-
it. It's
It's
too
like,
much.
bitch, you had 100 Hummers.
Look, this is why parents matter.
No, he's
This
saying
is why
Hummers.
the way yesterday had a great meeting with the JA, Junior Achievement, the local people here, and they got millions of members and 80,000 locals to South Florida sitting there thinking about what values and principles you bring in. And the flaw of it all is that sometimes parents are not as involved to have these types of conversations. I had a very, very interesting conversation with the boys after I read this book, Aggressive Girls, Clueless Boys. It says
She's
7
really
questions
pushing
you
this
should
book.
ask your daughters. I had this conversation with my 2 boys last week, and they're both very uncomfortable. Like, Dad, are we really having this conversation? Yes. This is very awkward. Sit down.
I can see them.
And I'm asking them questions, Vinny.
Yeah. Tico and Dylan.
I don't know. I don't want to talk. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Because back in the days, we would flirt with girls. Now the girls are the aggressive ones coming after you, and you have to be ready for it. Not that it hasn't been for centuries, but now, due to the feminist movement and all this stuff, they're the aggressive ones coming. So you have to understand what's going on there. So parents need to be involved for these things to be caught up. And then later on, if they turn 18 years old and they choose to live a life like this and they want to be the Monicas and do that, look, that's their choice. So every time Trump asks, they ask Trump about his kids, he says, well, so far they've done good, but let's see. So far they've done good, but let's see. Why? Because the kids can still screw up. They're their own individual people. They're going to make mistakes. We make mistakes. They make mistakes. Some of the mistakes are public. If that wasn't Bill Clinton and it was a manager at Starbucks, none of us would have known about it. It just happens to be that the guy that she, pleasured was what? The president. The world's going to know about it. And they're going to write about it. So
he got impeached over it.
Well, not necessarily. He did, but it wasn't like an impeachment.
It was exactly like Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
He didn't get convicted.
So let me go to another one of these stories of flip-flopping that just kind of confuses the hell out. I'd love to have this guy on and talk about it. New book to detail cover-up of Biden's health decline before 2024 election. This is Jake Tapper, okay? Jake Tapper is coming out with a book. And his new book called Original Sin. There was a movie named Original Sin with Angelina Jolie. I don't know if you've seen it with Antonio Banderas. It's actually a pretty good movie.
Very good movie.
Original Sin. President
Yeah,
Biden's
I was going to say, I love the terrorists and stuff. They're just passed out.
Choice to run again.
They're just having a
by Jake Tapper,
cordial
an Axios reporter,
conversation.
Alex Thompson, set to release May 20th, 2025 by Penguin Press, promises to expose a top-level cover-up of Joe Biden's health decline before 2024
Yay.
election.
She's calm.
Penguin Random House
She won't
press
bite.
release states Biden, his family, and his senior aides were so convinced that only he could beat Trump again, they lied to themselves, allies, and the public about his condition and limitations, framing his re-election bid as a disastrous misstep. The book dives into Biden's shockingly narcissistically self-delusional and reckless decision to run again per the publisher, revealing a desperate bet that went bust after his faltering June 2024 CNN debate performance, moderated by Tapper, led to his exit endorsement of Vice Presidential Kamala Harris, who lost to Trump. Tapper told CNN Business, Toni Morrison once said, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it, explaining that's what inspired this book. We wanted to know more about what we all just lived through. Here's him and Laura Trump defending President Biden. Watch this.
I think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You are
to
no
watch somebody on stage
it's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering,
mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose
His
somebody's
stutter.
cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in
stutter.
the Trump family would be more
I
sensitive.
love that they went with
to
that
people who
narrative.
do not
It's
have
like
medical licenses.
clearly like
Diagnosing politicians
not true.
from afar. Plenty
You
of
just
people
look
have
at him when he's
diagnosed your
younger, he
father from
talks
afar,
just fine.
And I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing
I'm
to
not
say.
diagnosing him. What I'm saying,
You
Jake,
just talked
is
about
that
a
we
cognitive
can clearly
decline.
see that
It was
Joe
a cognitive
Biden
I have
is
one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't.
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
Well, it says
That is all
Trump
I'm saying.
Pence in the
I'm
back.
genuinely
Okay, so
sorry for Joe
Trump
Biden.
Pence?
I appreciate
Yeah,
it. I'm
it
sure.
says Trump Pence in the
Oh,
back.
so this is a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah, no, that was
obviously
that was a
legacy
minute ago.
media is dying, and and nobody's giving it CPR. It's almost gone. He is one of the biggest lying leftists. He has his moments where we all, just like Bill Maher, we go, oh, maybe there's no. He's self-righteous. He's smug. That type of attitude, and the fact that he wrote a book about covering up Biden's decline when he was part of it.
Ooh,
is like Hillary Clinton
imparted
writing a
power.
book called Mysterious
Kind of rumor
Suicide,
and
the shocking
yada,
truth about
didn't catch
people who
that
knew
one.
too much. That's what he's doing. It's complete BS,
That's
and
a
now
Kate
it's all
Sith.
coming to pass. And by the way, that's what I love about the internet. These videos, the moment this book came out, that clip comes out. He's been doing it for a while, and that's why CNN and all these people are going bye-bye, period.
Tom.
You know, it's very interesting. Jake Tapper is currently in the hurricane that is CNN.
Okay. Here we
Last
go.
year he signed a 3-year extension for $20 million, so that's
What does it
almost
tell
$7
you,
million a
though?
year.
Like-
He wanted 5 years for 50. They said not going to happen. Budgets being budgets, and that was not a raise over his previous salary, and he was very upset because he thought he deserved a raise over his previous salary of all the stuff he'd done through the primaries.
Give me some info
And
on
it
this.
just goes to show you, the expiration date on these folks' careers is coming.
Might have to Google.
Because
how
you
would
can't
people figure this shit out?
continue to roll this way and then be exposed for just outright historical hypocrisy in the name of a paycheck, which is what we're seeing here. And so the buyer of CNN gets a benefit of the anchor, Caitlin Collins, not having like a thunder contract. You know what I mean? Like, she's still playing her rookie contract. So they're going to get 3-4 years of her and, you know, at price A before she says, you know, I want the big contract. And Jake is caught here. He's out doing this, and I actually think it's hubris. It's absolute hubris with a dial turned to 10. You know, that you could actually do what you did for all those years and then write a book about it, and you're actually pointing a finger back at yourself. And to me, that's what's shocking about it.
Adam.
I'm actually going to defend Jake Tapper here partially. Partially because I
didn't know
think
he was
it's
Jewish.
Is he?
Is he?
I don't know. Explain that joke, Tom.
I just.
I'm gonna have to
Tom,
look
go
this
ahead.
up.
Is he?
Because there is
I don't
Esper
believe he is.
leveling, and I
His
just
parents are Jewish.
Oh,
Okay.
Well,
I
there you go.
never
So what does that?
I never knew about it when I was a kid. I just started reading about it, so I got to figure this
Tom,
out.
what does that have to do
But
with-
yeah, it doesn't give you any
Adam, you can
information.
continue.
No, I'm
Like
trying to
in the
understand the
game,
joke.
like it. I think it just
Go ahead.
raises your attributes
I know a lot
every
of
time
things
you
are hard
level
for you
up,
to
no
understand.
matter
Just continue.
or
Just
depending
go for
on
it.
which
I'll stop. I'll pause. I
Esper
appreciated the
you
joke.
have
What do you mean?
equipped. So let's see.
What's your point?
This is going to be the longest awkward moment. Just go.
I love
Say
it.
What
your
happened?
point.
I might have to back
I
that
love it
up.
too. I'm just trying to
What
understand.
did we miss?
Caitlin Collins not having like a thunder contract. You know what I mean? Like, she's still playing her rookie contract. So they're going to get 3-4 years of her. And,
I was talking.
You know,
Sorry.
At price
Let's
A.
see, what did we miss?
Before she says, you know, I want the big contract. And Jake is caught here. He's out doing this, and I actually think it's hubris. It's absolute hubris with a dial turned to 10. You know, that you could actually do what you did for all those years and then write a book about it, and you're actually pointing a finger back at yourself. And to me, that's what's shocking about it.
Adam.
It's
I'm
just the
actually going to
pixel
defend
remaster.
Jake
I
Tapper
have it.
here partially. Partially because
I
I,
didn't know
think
he was
it's
Jewish.
Is he?
Is he?
I don't know. Explain that joke, Tom.
I just.
No, Tom. Go ahead.
Is he? Yeah.
I don't believe he is.
His parents are Jewish.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So what does that have to do with? Tom, what does that have to do with?
Adam, you can continue.
No, I'm trying to understand the joke.
Pat.
Go ahead.
I know a lot of things are hard for you to understand. Just continue.
Go for
Oh man.
I'll stop. I'll pause. I appreciated the joke. What do you mean?
Sorry, I probably need to turn this down a little bit. How about now? That's a
What's your
little bit
point?
better. Okay.
This is going to be the longest awkward moment. Just go.
I love
Say
it.
your point.
What-
Adam, go ahead.
I love it too. I'm just trying to understand the joke. Like,
But
not
he
smart
is,
enough to
though.
keep up.
To be fair, he is. Is he Catholic? I thought he was Catholic. Is he Jewish, Rob? I didn't know that.
It says his parents were Jewish. His parents were Jewish. His mother was raised Presbyterian,
that's what I
converted
thought
to
it was.
Judaism.
Both his parents are Jewish?
Okay, got it.
So he's
So she was Presbyterian. She converted. Okay.
So
and then
he-
what is he?
probably gay.
Author and proud Jew. There it is. CNN Jake Tapper.
Say that?
Exponent. Yeah, anchor, author, and proud Jew.
right.
There you go. So Tom was right. Go for it.
Okay. I don't know what that has to do.
I don't know what it has to do. I didn't
I
know he
don't
was Jewish. Tom is saying he's Jewish. I didn't know he was Jewish.
All right. Well, then that means I have to defend him. Is what that means. Just like how I have
What you
to, I
want.
have to defend Jeffrey Epstein.
You
Just it comes
defended
with
Monica Lewinsky.
it's the agreement.
You defended Monica
The
Lewinsky
Jewish
with
agreement.
the
I have
hope
got
of her partying
I
at
have
11 in
I have
Miami.
a Jewish conference call at noon to take over the world. We do it every Thursday at noon. I mean, can we hurry this thing up? Anyway, I'm going to defend
Okay.
Jake Tapper only partially because there's a big difference between, I think, Biden in 2020 versus Biden in 2024. Biden was never supposed to be a two-term president. He was supposed to be a one-and-done guy to, quote-unquote, get Trump out of the office. He did his job. But then when you're so close to freaking power, you got people, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, whatever, you're smoking your crack, you're doing your thing. No, Dad, you're doing a great job. Yeah, the world's falling apart. Dad, you're doing an awesome job.
So
yeah,
Savin's blitzes are like
inflation.
considered
You're doing
magic.
an awesome job.
It's good to know.
When you're so close to power, you don't want to leave it. Who was the one guy that George H.W. Bush would never want to talk about? The one guy.
Oh, the father. Yeah, Ross
Yes.
Perot.
Why not?
Well, because he cost him the election.
cost him the election.
Yeah.
Because when you're so close to power, you're the most powerful man in the world. You don't want to bring up things that basically cost you why the hell you're not the president. So this guy was never supposed to be a two-term president. I think it's pretty clear that he did have major cognitive decline, but that probably happened I don't know, into his presidency, 2021, 2022. Because don't forget, he was campaigning from a basement, I got it. But just juxtapose the actual debates in 2020 versus 2024. There's your evidence. In 2020, he actually put sentences together, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then in 2024, he just froze and poopy pants himself.
Yeah, but it was, but
There we
okay,
go.
it wasn't as
Found
bad
the
at
chart.
the end, but everybody
hook it
knew.
up
That's
with,
why
like,
they kept him in the
best-suited
basement. That's why
characters.
he never went in front of the camera. We didn't get him in front of a camera for 40 days into the election. Let's not be honest. I'm sorry.
Let's not be honest.
Let's be completely
Stamina
honest. They kept
is
him in the
ruined.
basement
Current
for a reason,
nothing
because that
with
same
Karen?
decline that Jake Tapper's over here yelling about, and he's not
why
stupid.
why do you think they kept him in the
Ishmael.
basement?
Because they're protecting him because they know he was
But there
dumb.
was also that
and
little,
lost his mind.
thing from China that came over here.
Yeah, but hold on. Nobody else was. What do you mean? Trump was out. Everybody was out in the public. If
So,
you're going to be
I wanna
running
say
for the
it's like when
president,
you're
I want to
about to
hear you
level
talk.
up.
You can't run a campaign.
But we
from
all
the
know
basement.
that when you walk in a restaurant, you got to have a mask on or whatever.
But
But
when
once
you
you sit at the table,
COVID leaves you alone.
it
Yeah,
leaves
has
you alone.
respect. Has
Or
respect
just
when
like in
you're
the
eating.
NBA, if you're on the bench, you put it. But when you're in the game, you
for
can take
me,
it off. Makes
if-
sense.
If he wanted some of the best marketing done for his book, they just did it.
Yeah,
Shout out to Penguin.
God bless you.
2 months away, 3 months away from the book coming out, and people are already talking about it like this, way in advance. This is going to be a New York Times bestseller on day one. That's what's going to happen with this book. And he's going to make some money. So he's going to make up for that additional $5 million that they didn't pay him. This is going to make the difference up.
You're
And-
welcome, Jake.
Yeah.
Let's just stick together.
Yeah. So there you go. Adam's definitely not buying your book, by the way. Just so you know. So let's
That's true.
continue to the
Send me a
next
free
story.
copy.
Bezos
Save that
orders
money.
WAPO opinion section to embrace personal
No, this is
liberties
super
and
helpful.
free markets.
I would have never known any
so
of this
what
stuff.
does he mean
It's
by
crazy
this?
how much
Okay,
people
let's go
nerd
through
out
it.
to figure this stuff
So
out.
Bezos, owner of WAPO, announced Wednesday that the opinion section will not focus solely on personal liberties and free markets, saying, I am of America and for America and proud to be so. And freedom is ethical. It minimizes coercion and practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. This shift led to editor Dave Shipley's exit, with Bezos noting, I suggested to him if the answer wasn't hell yes, then it had to be no. While Shipley wrote, I will always be thankful for the opportunity I was given to work alongside a team of opinion journalists. The change marks a departure from Post's tradition of diverse views under Shipley and predecessor Fred Hyatt, prompting CEO Will Lewis to clarify this is about being crystal clear about what we stand for as a newspaper, not political alignment, Shipley and his farewell told staff after reflection on how I can best move forward in the profession I love. He chose to leave while executive editor Matt Murray assured the newsroom's mission remains to pursue engaging, impactful journalism without fear or favor. Tom.
Well, first of all, David Shipley was
By equipping Espers,
basically
characters will gain boost to against
running
that whenever
the
they
opinion
level up.
side
There it is.
of the Trump hit piece Gazette is what it was, and that's how this thing was rolling.
So whenever they
And
level up, we just gotta keep an eye on
Bezos,
that, I guess.
for whatever reasons, and he owns it. That's his company.
So let's see.
And people seem to think that, 10
Stamina.
minutes, after you're in the chair in a media job, and this is what Joy Reid was crying about. My what did she say? My show had value. My show had value. Yeah. Well, it didn't have viewership anymore, and viewership is what gets the bills paid. You know, and this thinking that people are entitled in the media that once you're in the chair, the owner of the company cannot tell you what to do or tell what's going on. And Bezos just said, look, let's focus on personal liberties and free markets. You know what personal liberty is? Free speech.
Yeah. Say
You know what personal liberty? Freedom of religion. That's what personal liberties are, and free markets. So Bezos is saying, as the owner of this, I think that's what we should be about. And this guy says no to that because if you go look at the history, he was just running Trump hit piece Gazette. But I love the way Bezos put it to him because Bezos could obviously, I'm not reading into Bezos, but it's pretty clear that Jeff understood what he was sitting across. And he said, you know, look, I suggested him, if your answer isn't hell yes, it's got to be no. You're not just going to say, yep, maybe, oh, I'm 80% there and come do this. I'm only saying you can continue in this role if it's hell yes. And I think that was absolutely solid leadership.
There you go. Vinny, your thoughts?
I mean, great leadership. At the same token, it's like, you know, if you don't like what the CEO is doing, then move the hell on, okay? He's adjusting just like Mark Zuckerberg, just like everybody that shifted from that one side, because everybody, America, the world, is tired of the BS. So he's shifting, he's adjusting. You said it, Tom. He writes the checks. If you don't like it, get the hell out. That's it. Next, because they're going down.
I mean, this has, forget about the paper. This has to do with one thing. Do you love America or not? Are you happy to be living in America or not? Are you defending American values or not? I'm so sick of America being compared to utopia. Well, in America, they had slavery. Yeah, so did
everybody
the entire
else.
world.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, America, they have problems. Yeah, show me a country that's perfect. So here's a guy. Here's what Trump has done. It's given cover for everybody who kind of had to tap dance and walk on eggshells to be like, hell yeah, America, buddy. So that's what Bezos is doing. I mean, you don't think Bezos believes in capitalism?
Of course.
I mean, this guy built some of the biggest companies in the world. $2 trillion market cap. I'll tell you a quick story. So, you know,
like
I've been walking around, passing around these American flags throughout to people, right?
Yeah.
The pins.
Yeah.
Because I got a few at Mar-a-Lago, and people loved them. And I was like, you know what? Let me go buy a bunch more.
These two.
I went to a house party in Miami Beach. This was last weekend. And I just brought a bunch to give out to the... Oh, and people, when they get one of these things, they're like, oh, dude, thanks, man. This is awesome. Man. Thanks. I gave it to this one girl.
I like Locke, but
like,
I don't
I
care
don't want
to
that.
use him in this
I'm like, what do you mean?
playthrough.
Seriously?
I was like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, I would never. I said,
I want to give others
where do you live?
a chance.
She's like, oh, I'm from North Carolina.
You
I was like, why do you sound like a Jap from LA? That's my impression. She's like, oh, I would never wear that. I said, give me that damn pin back.
Yeah.
I go, where the hell do you live now? I live in Miami.
Savins, hands
I go,
down,
why don't
best
you?
character.
Why'd you move to Miami?
In my opinion.
She's like, what do you mean? I like it here. I go, why don't you move to Venezuela or Haiti or
go somewhere fun.
Colombia? No, because I like it here. Oh, you like it here. And what state is Miami in? Well, it's in Florida, I think. You know, it's in Florida. Good job. And what country is Florida in? She's like, why are you asking me this? I was like, listen, chick, if you don't love America, feel free to move everywhere else. It's okay to say America has problems, but don't look at the flag. You're born in America and be like, ew, I would never. Get the fuck out of here. That's how I feel. So I feel like what Jeff Bezos is doing is basically saying, listen, if you don't like what America is and what we stand for, he literally says, feel free to leave. If you don't say, hell yes, feel free to leave. That's like someone saying, hey, here's a free pen, it's America. Say hell yes. If you're saying, no, I would never, leave.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Why?
I actually love what's happening with him.
What was that, like 30
I love what
points
he's
down?
doing. It's his business. Now, you know, you don't know. Yesterday, while we're at
I like her strut.
event at
Look at that strut.
Goldman Sachs, this one guy, a fellow I was
That's a
talking
catwalk
to,
strut right
family
there.
podcast. We're actually exchanging messages right now on X. He said, you know, when it comes down to economy, with what's going on with Bezos, with some of these other guys, he says, you know what's the one thing I've noticed that I'm uncomfortable about? I said, what's that? These people that are just coming on this side just because it's popular right now to do it. Will they go back to the other side? What's going to happen with those guys? And I said, what are you talking about? You mentioned a few names, which, one of them is going to be on the podcast with that person tomorrow, I believe. And said, what about this, and what about that, and what about this? I'm like, well, you're asking good questions that people can ask. But at the same time, what Bezos and the owner of LA Times and the owner of these other companies are realizing, people are not resonating with it. You know what report came out yesterday? Here's a report that came out yesterday. Rob, I'm going to send this to you. Two things I'm going to send to you. If you can show this one. This report came out yesterday about, do you have the trust in the media, Rob? Is that one that was in there that I saved, or no? You don't have that one? No, I don't have it. There's a report that came up yesterday about the trust in media for 2024. It's the latest
it's
one
28%,
that was trending
I think.
all over the place.
It's bad.
Yesterday showed 31%.
That was a 31. No, I heard 28.
It's the lowest trust. If you can search it, is that it? Yeah, 31%.
Yep.
It's the lowest, and that's the latest update. Look at that.
Oh,
the lowest
man.
ever in the history of America. What do you think people are saying right now? People are flat out saying, I don't trust you.
Thank God.
I don't believe you. So Bezos
I saw
has
it
to make
10
some
years
adjustments,
ago.
and he has to fire people. By the way,
11 years ago.
MSNBC
That's when I
fires Joey
first started
Reid.
noticing
The
this.
new replacement, I was watching him
Or, no,
yesterday.
it was about
I don't know
10.
if you see
I think
the
it
new
was about 10 years
replacement, the
ago.
guy at MSNBC.
Oh my God, he looks like a Key and Peele, like a character. The guy in the pink.
I thought it was a
It was
joke.
weird to me that it wasn't more obvious.
You're not
I
gonna
thought it
believe
was
it.
a joke. I'm watching this new thing.
Who's the guy?
I'm watching this new thing. I'm like, what is really going on here? What is
Pull
this
this up.
whole thing all about? I'm watching this guy
I
speak.
need to
I'm
get
like,
out
no,
of stuff.
MSNBC's
That's right.
not learning. If you type in Joy Reid replacement.
I thought it was going to be Michael Steele and Simone
Well,
Sanders.
And
Let
they're
me
trying to
see if I
blame it on
see which clip
racism.
this is.
Of course.
Yeah, this
Didn't even
is
try
Joy
to
Reid's-
change their
yeah, this was
approach
the
or
clip.
methodology or
This
anything.
is the replacement. Watch
Found
this.
it?
Rob, if you don't have it, I'll text it to you.
Could you please?
Yeah, this is Joy Reid's replacement. So you tell me if MSNBC has learned from their mistakes, okay? Do you
Okay.
think they've learned from their mistakes on what they're doing? Okay. Rob, if you can go and pull up that thing that I just sent you. This is Joy Reid's replacement. Is this a better replacement?
Oh, I know this guy.
Play this clip. Go for it. Watch this.
Who is
Pull
that?
that up.
Casey Smollett?
Watch. Adam, go back a little bit. Go back a little bit. Just watch this. Go ahead.
He has a hard time running against Vice President Harris because she's a black woman. You will remember actually when he would tussle with the women that would ask him questions, our colleagues on the White House
George
beat.
Conway?
Reporters. He held his kind of most
Pause this.
angry.
Rob, show the other picture. And by the way, again, this is America. You can do whatever you want to do, whatever your choice is. This is
but
Joy
that's-
Reid's replacement.
Yeah.
So he's like the gay
what,
prince.
What MSNBC said, this is
It's the
what's
same
so
person.
weird. Like, I wonder, I want to be in the boardroom just to watch. I would sign an NDA just to see how they're processing these issues. You thought this is where America wants you to go more, over
Yeah.
Joy Reid.
Yeah.
So we had Joy
Nice pivot,
Reid,
guys.
and you're going to this.
Yes.
So what you're saying is the Democrats want you to go further
that's funny.
left. That's what the audience is telling you. Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. That's what they're telling
That's
you.
what their audience
Jeff Bezos is saying America wants us to
What am I
stay
supposed
in
to
the
do?
middle as much as
Honestly,
possible.
I wasn't paying attention.
MSNBC,
Got
this new
sidetracked
person is
again.
like, nope, I was at CNN before, now I'm at MSNBC. We're
done,
going
yeah.
even further. By the way, guess who
Yeah,
just announced that
Queen.
they're retaring next year from Disney? Who do you think just announced that they're
Iger?
retiring from
Opera House.
Disney next year?
Our friend
Kathleen
Kennedy. Oh, yeah.
just announced that she is expected to retire this year. Do you think that's retirement? Or do you think that's the board saying, Kathleen, you need to make an announcement that you're stepping away? And you can say it's a season of your life that you want to go spend time with your family? Do you think Disney is making this decision because they're realizing how many flops they've had back to back to back, and they got to change? Because the audience who are parents
Kathleen,
are sick of it.
is that
What did
Disney?
Bill Maher say yesterday? Can you pull up Bill
CEO?
Maher's clip yesterday, and we'll go
Sorry, I
just
wasn't
right
paying
into the Bill
attention.
Maher
Okay.
clip?
Talk about the transition.
Yeah, Bill Maher
Trying to figure
said
this
that it's
game
the
out now.
parts. I love what Bezos is doing. Good for you because business forces you to make better decisions. This is what Bill Maher said about if Democrats keep going this way, they're going to lose their audience. Go for it. Go ahead and play this clip.
Okay.
Most of America, they did that in schools. I don't. But I think in
I
enough of them,
don't.
in enough far left places, they did constantly have this idea in the minds of children that maybe you're not in the right body. I mean, the New England Journal of
At least he
Medicine
pivoted on this
advocated for taking
situation.
sex off of a birth certificate.
Bill's
I
an
believe.
idiot, but
it was like you're
he's smart enough to know this one.
assigned sex at
Assigned
birth.
sex at birth.
Assigned.
Yeah.
You're assigned.
I think that's
Well,
right.
I was assigned it by my dick. Okay. Yes, and again, to tell
Here you go,
kids,
Tom.
it doesn't
Okay.
always have to be, and isn't always the default setting. But that's a different mentality than they put in the minds of kids, and that's why this debate goes on. And the fact that you think, or a lot of people on the left think that even if you just have this debate, it makes you a bigot, you just have to roll over. That was, you asked about the Biden administration. That was their position. If you even question this, you're some sort of a bigot. And this is new science, and it has to do with children, and it's not going to look good in the future, that position.
Can I just respond to something?
Now you can.
Now I can respond? All right. Can
I
you
gotta
just All right. Let's just
I
do
said
there's
my
a lot.
piece.
You definitely said your piece.
Just say your bullshit while
And
I'm
what's
on
this
that.
lady's name?
Just stay for 1 second.
Okay, I'm kidding.
Unbelievable.
I'm kidding.
All right, no, I know. Okay. A lot of things.
Saves America. Go ahead.
First of all, oof.
He can't even say anything. He's stuck.
This is going to
just
sound
move on. This is Pod Save America.
Yes.
For a long
That's what
time.
I don't like them, but they want to put us on this one.
Older
Get outta
gay
here,
people
Look
are
at the top right.
recruiting
See what he
kids
said.
to be gay, and they wouldn't really be gay. It was they were being recruited, they were being groomed, that they were being drawn. That was their conservative position, the Christian right position for a long time. Was the reason you didn't want to have gay teachers is they're going to recruit.
Okay, you can stop. I'm trying to see where he's going with this. So, what Bill said is, if Democrats, let me just read this title to you. What does he say? What page is that? Democrats will lose every election without shift on trans issues. Every election. I mean, this is not like a thing that he's getting it. Guys, you're going to continue losing. The family is not supportive of you. Guess
I
what
don't remember what I'm
MSNBC
supposed to do there,
be?
but
MSNBC. They're not adjusting. Bezos has proven he is adjusting. Zuck is proven he's adjusting. Quite a few different outlets, they're proven they're adjusting.
Wow.
When you look at news commentary,
they adjusting or are they just scared?
TV shows, when 507 out of 507 most viewed shows of the year in 2025 are all from Fox, what does it tell you? You know how easy it should be for Democrats to start a show now? Because you have an enemy in there. You should perform better. How the hell are you not? Because maybe your ideas suck today. I don't know. Maybe they do. And you can't even get Bill Maher to agree with you. And Bill Maher is one of your biggest spokesperson. He is your press secretary, one of them. You've lost him a little bit. So, yeah, kudos to Bezos to be where he's at. Anyways, let's go to the next story here. Rob, I want to send you this. I saw this chart from Visual Capitalist. None of you guys know I'm going to be talking about this. But I want to ask you why, okay? I want to ask you why, and I want everybody here to ask why. I love these Visual Capitalists whenever they come up with some of these charts. Rob, I just sent it to you. If you can pull it up. What? This is a very, very weird chart. We've talked about this before. How did we get here? How did this happen? Look at this.
Where's the chart?
Can you show this chart? So this is single mothers in America by ethnicity. Most of 7.3 million single mothers in the U.S. are in their 30s or 40s and lack a college degree. The average in America is 21% of all mothers are single mothers. African American is 47%, Hispanics 25%, white 14%, Asian 8%. Tom, why do you think this is?
Because of a breakdown of the family in cultural segments in America. It's as simple as that. That's not a racist statement, that's a statistical statement. When you look at the amount of incarcerations and you look at what's happened to the black family in America, it's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. And you know what's even more amazing to this? Is that 47% of the single mothers in the black, 47% of the mothers in the black community are single mothers. I think that's what this is saying.
Yeah, that's what this is saying.
And you take a look at
have to get down some
this
Halo.
Statistic that
Snoop Controller.
the
Just calling my
African
name.
Americans, I don't think
I tried
have
booting that
crossed
up yesterday, though, and it was just sitting on the loading screen for like 10 minutes, so I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think they've been just below 16, 14, 13, but it's been right in that zone. Yet, they are 40 to 44% of the abortions annually, which means that abortion, thank you Planned Parenthood, has been a black genocide perpetrated by the Democratic Party. There, I said it. And in the communities where you've got the unemployment and you've got the breakdown of the family, you've got single moms. And that's what's going on. And nobody wants to talk about it. But the breakdown of the family and the breakdown of standards in the family, and you look at the Asian market and you look at how low it is. What's it, 7%? Yep, there it is. 38 to 40% of all abortions, significantly higher than a proportion of the overall population, which is under 17%. Why is that? And then you take a look at that. And then you take a look at the family. And then you see 47%
pretty messed up.
of them still, of the moms still are single moms. It's horrifying. You know, it's the breakdown of the family. You need strong people, strong parents to lead family. Parents, plural.
Adam, your thoughts?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. Clearly, the stats regarding the African American community are way more alarming. I think we've talked about what happened with the Great Society and LBJ, and if you don't marry the man, you start to marry the government. You become the welfare queen and everything with that, and then you get rewarded for having more children, and you get more money. You've given a stat out there. How about blacks used to actually have the highest marriage rate in America? But I don't even want to go to a race issue. I kind of want to go to a gender situation here because, yes, you could take sort of the Asians. I guess they're sticking together more than anybody. But Hispanics, and then I don't know how they're defining other these days. But the biggest clash, I think, is between men and women. I was just with my buddy at court testifying the fact that he's a good father. He's a white guy, married to a white woman. And I don't know, we've talked about these stats before. 80% of divorces women file for. And that increases to, I think, 85, 90% as they're college educated. I think 98% of alimony the man has to pay to the woman. So meaning the courts are screwing men over like crazy. They have to give up all their money. They have to give up their access to their children. They have to give up basically everything. You see the horror stories of men when they're dealing with courts. I talk to them all the time on Manect. How do they bounce back from something like this? Whether that's mentally, whether it's physically, whether it's financially. Women dominate men in the court system. So they're incentivized to say, oh, you did this wrong, or you did this wrong, or you cheated, or you did whatever. I'm divorcing you. With no ramifications, the repercussions of what's going to happen. You have 2 children. You're going to kick the father of your children out because he did something bad or did something stupid one time? One time? Well, yeah, he should have never done that. So let me ask you something, ladies, and I want the best for you. You think you're going to find another good man when you have 2 children and you're 44 years old? You think that's the best game plan for you? So I think a lot of this is women being emotional and not basically being logical. And I'm not saying men don't screw up. Everyone screws up. But if you think that the best outcome as a woman is to leave your man and then be a single mother getting paychecks from the government, I think there's a better plan for you. That's my opinion.
Well, I think the welfare policies from the 60s and 70s and all that, making it, incentivizing single parents. And it's like the entertainment industry doesn't help at all. All those songs, all the rapping, yeah, baby daddy, all that. It's just, it's stuff. And Tom nailed it too with the nuclear family. How much crap have we heard the past 4 years during the whole Biden when they were trying to ramp everything up? Is they're trying to break up that family, the household, the father being at the house, and that's it. And there's the stat for you right there. It's ridiculous.
Is this a racist chart?
No, because facts don't give a shit about what color you are,
numbers,
who you are. Like, hold on, yeah, I love that you asked that. That right there that's a fact. That's it. Yeah. Take it for what you want. It might hurt your feelings. That thing doesn't give a shit about.
Can you zoom into the source, Rob? Could you zoom in on the source?
Yeah,
the
Asians don't play around.
From the economic status of single mothers, Doctor for American Progress, as of 2023. That's the source. And that, to me, you can sit there and say whatever you want. If when people sit there and again, this is going to get a little bit controversial.
That's a different view.
I might be saying.
There's a few different things to this game.
If a community is winning or losing, and they have people in powerful places, give them credit. I'll never forget when I was in a company filled with Mormons. And one of the guys was a stake president. And he always wanted me to read the Book of Moroni and come and be a Mormon and come and do this. And guys used to get sealed up. And you know what sealed up means in the Mormon church? It means when you get married in the church and all this other stuff. And I started reading stuff on Gordon B. Hinckley, on the virtues and all this other stuff. And I watched everything just to see what the one guy's like, you got to watch God Makers 1. You got to watch God Makers 2. You got to watch what happened with Cicero. You got to read this thing on Cleon Skousen. You got to read this. And I just started getting them to, you got to see this. And I started reading both sides, right? Okay. How they ended up here and the 6, plates that came from Vermont and Jesus reappeared in America. And how can you believe any of this stuff? That's okay. Right. So this is whatever they think they believe in, right? Mormons. Great. Let me tell you what I saw with the people that were Mormons. They work together. They send their kids off to mission right after they turn 18 years old, and they have to learn a language and go learn somewhere to live for 2 years and introduce their faith to others. They learned how to make friends. They learned how to deal with people. They learned how to sell. They learned how to make it in business where they weren't shy. When you did interview, do an interview with a Mormon that's gone on a 2-year trip and see how they are. Go ahead and do an interview. And you're like, what an impressive 22-year-old. Mm-hmm. I don't have to believe in the book. I don't have to sit there and go Joseph Smith and all this other stuff. I don't have to do any of that stuff. Oh my God, you guys are impressive. And you guys all defend each other. You all back each other up. Now again, you tell me the 88 bad things about Mormons and the polygamy and the shows, and I've watched all of them. Trust me, I've watched more than you have, and I've studied that thing more than most people have because I was in that community. Set that aside. These guys would be able to teach somebody how to speak a language within 6 to 8 weeks, to the point where the FBI started targeting Mormons and recruiting Mormons. The CIA starts targeting Mormons and recruiting Mormons. Why? Maybe because their system produces people that you want to hire. So maybe that's something that starts from the top. Asians, what subject do you think they spend a lot of time in?
Math.
Hey, go back to school and think about the Asian kid in school. I wonder how they did in math. Do you remember them?
Pretty damn good.
I know Tom's daughter's friends, how they're in math. I know friends that we have, kids. Why? It's a cultural thing. What do they do? This is a very important conversation to have from the top. You're either envious, you're angry, you're upset that they did a better job negotiating and producing certain values and principles. Why don't you go do the same? You could do the same. Why don't you? The opposite is being able to say, it's not fair. It's the white man's fault. It's systemic this, it's systemic that. You can say that all you want. This coming from a Middle Eastern, from Iran, that's came here, green card, refugee camp, 18 months, didn't speak English, didn't know how to pronounce 3 words, Gilligan's Island, government, Wednesday. Why the hell do you put a Wednesday? Why don't you just say Wednesday? Wednesday. Why do you make it so hard? Write all these other words. It's pissing me off till today, right?
Lasagna?
Lasagna. I didn't do lasagna time because we've always said lasagna. But the point I'm making to you is,
thankfully that worked out.
On the values from the top of why this is happening. You can take the victim card and do that all day long, or you can choose to lead. And the data will always prove you right or prove you wrong. It's never going to lie. Yankees haven't won since 2009. You know how many times I hear from people talking shit about the Yankees haven't won since 2009? We won, just 28, 20 or something. Yeah, but you haven't won since 2009. Why haven't we won since 2009? You get judged on that. The Dodgers have been winning left and right. Why have they been winning? They probably have a good management team. They're probably doing certain decisions right. They're probably playing aggressive. They're probably spending money to go out get the right guys. Why? You can be a Yankee and a diehard Yankee fan and talk about it, but if your data doesn't prove you right, what are you going to do?
Just turns into
right?
a bouquet
what are you
of
gonna
flowers.
Do? So, anyways.
A bouquet?
I saw this mess. By the way, I'd love to see if there's Middle Eastern, if there's
a little
Indian,
bouquet.
if there's every other thing in here as well.
That's the whole other what they threw in, which is...
Yeah, but I want them to be specific on the other side.
Can I say why I think this point is so important? So, you talked about the Mormons, you talked about the Asians. Well, I'm Jewish. I understand, Jews stick together. Thank you, Tom. But, I've dealt with this, and this is something,
Was I supposed to
remember what
walk
Snoop,
over there?
when he called out the African-American community for voting for Trump. This would have been in 16 or in 20.
Got to go through that
What he
entire
said,
thing
and then there's
again.
this guy, Pastor Jamal, who basically says, you know, if you're
Take
a
a mulligan?
black person who supports Donald Trump and goes to the White
at
House,
least it
you're a coon
starts
or
right
you're a
here.
runaway
You don't gotta go
slave,
through the
what
entire
have you.
thing.
Now, what percentage of African Americans or blacks vote Democrat, Pat? 80+%? What's the number?
Slip up.
It's a high number.
Okay, so it's above 80%.
do it?
That used to be 92. It's like 82%
Okay.
right now.
So what do you think the percentage of Jews who vote Democrat is?
A majority, 65.
Okay, so it's 67%, 2/3,
yeah.
1/3. Okay, so it's 80. So it's not a far delta between the Jewish community and the black community.
Yes.
Do you know how much hate I got? You think I get hate from the our chat? Like, you know, oh, Adam's this, Adam's that. My own personal chat, my friends who are Jewish, I can't even believe you would vote for Donald Trump. What kind of racist, misogynist, Nazi are you? I go, shut the up.
It's funny, yeah. Party
What
of
are you talking
tolerance.
about?
They
Defend some of your positions, because all you do is name
zero
call,
tolerance.
and you give zero policy perspective. You give zero substance. It's all just
How
racist, misogynist feelings,
dare
feelings.
you.
And these are some of my closest friends. So I can say, shut your stupid face, and still love you,
Oh,
just like how we
oops.
might argue.
I
and we'll go out
messed
to
that
lunch.
one up.
So what the black community needs to do is you need to have like a Byron Donalds of the world, or even a Candace Owens. Be like,
Mofo.
shut your mouth, pastor.
Back out the
whoever,
front door.
This and that.
Back
I can
to the
vote
pile.
for whoever I want to vote for. I believe in this,
This
and
is
let
the
me
hardest
call
part
you
of the
out if
game.
you're
That's
doing
the
something
greatest
wrong.
part.
Just like I told every single one of my friends, I go, how much do you
Don't
want to
mess
bet
it up. Yeah,
that
man.
Trump is going to win this election? Because you're all gay. And they're literally all married with kids.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
To women.
Oh, okay.
But I basically made the point. I go, I'll put my money where my mouth is. So what I'm saying is, if the Jewish community is 67% voting Democrat, and the black community is 80%,
You turned this into a
Don't
Jewish
slip up
commercial.
this time.
that's
Like,
true. And I did
Yeah.
not turn this
Don't
into a
tense
Jewish
up next
commercial.
time.
This is a commercial for blacks calling other blacks out.
All right.
You
okay.
have to.
Listen.
All right,
We're not
Maria.
against rap.
We're not against rappers.
But we are against those
thugs.
It's
the thuggish, ruggish bomb.
All right. So, okay. So
It's the
that is. So,
Wake
by the
up,
way, did
wake
you hear
up,
the news
wake
about
up,
Gene Hackman?
baby.
Horrible.
Horrible news.
What was
Gene
that?
Hackman just
That's
found
horrible.
7 hours ago dead,
Sucks.
and his wife
Yeah,
dead,
this is a weird
along
one.
with the dogs dead.
Okay, oh, my hero.
Is investigating after the actor Gene
Scroll down.
Hackman, his wife, along with a dog, were all found dead at their home.
Scroll down. This is one of the most famous actors.
Phenomenal actor.
Mississippi Burning.
Five-time
Mississippi
nominated
Burning.
for an Oscar. I think he won 2 of them, if I'm not
Wow.
mistaken. Like,
And
this is a legit
the French
guy.
Connection. This
Yeah,
guy
French
was-
Connection was one of them. Yes.
Popeye Doyle.
Yeah, this guy.
What the hell happened? with
90. By the way,
He
his
was
house,
95.
He had a beautiful house
Oh,
on Pebble
man.
Beach.
He was
can you pull up Gene
95?
Hackman's Pebble Beach house?
No.
You got to see this house, by the way.
95 years
Gene,
old.
one time we went to Pebble Beach, and they're like, "That's Gene Hackman's house." I'm like, "That's Gene Hackman's
No
house."
way,
Damn,
he was
must have
that
about had a
old.
good time.
Was he really?
Pat, you've been to Pebble Beach.
Not to golf, buddy. But I
Look at that
just
thing.
walk around a little bit. That's the
That's
house.
sick.
Pebble Beach house. Look at that.
Ridiculous.
Beautiful house that he had. But yeah, well, may he rest
Yeah,
in
and
peace.
then-
A lot of good work he did. A lot of good movies he did.
95 years old.
And
But
quite
also,
frankly, I don't even know where he stands politically. Do
He
you?
need- no, he's quiet. The Birdcage. Remember him in the Birdcage? He played a politician in the Birdcage.
Did he
was
play
really-
something with Denzel? What was that?
with
Denzel, the
Robin,
boat, the Navy.
Oh,
pull up his
was
best
that him?
movies, Rob.
What was a movie
He
with
did
him and
Enemy of the
Denzel? Did
State.
Gene
That
Hackman
was a
play a
good one.
movie with
The
Denzel?
Hunt for
Why do I
Red
feel-
October? Was
no,
that?
no.
Gene
Well,
Hackman.
Sean
It was,
Connery.
he did one with Will Smith.
Yeah.
Oh,
Enemy
Crimson
of the
Tide.
State.
Crimson
Tide.
Tide. Great movie.
Yeah, Crimson Tide.
Oh, he
I
was
think that also had to do
phenomenal.
with the submarine as well.
Yeah.
By the way, what happened with this actress Michelle Trachtenberg? Did you see what happened to her? 39 years old.
Just the Nickelodeon deal?
This girl.
Something with Nickelodeon.
River
I think she was
failure.
on the movie Euro Trip back in the day. What
Yeah.
shows was she on?
She was in
Cutie little
Rob knows.
patootie
She was a
right here.
Nickelodeon child actress.
She's a Libra.
Do you just gender affirm her?
Yeah.
What happened with this? Is
She was
I mean,
just- I
she's
don't know.
39.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Gene Hackman, God
Get
rest
some
his soul.
dance
This is the
on.
same one,
95.
Rob,
Dance it
that got
off.
everybody to take
Turn
the
it into some
vaccine and she was
flowers.
endorsing
Throw it
it.
off the
That was
balcony.
the claim yesterday on online. Yes.
Okay.
What happened with her?
Well, we
Right
don't
here.
know the forensics. This is her post. What'd she say, Robbie?
May she also
All right.
rest in peace.
So I guess
I
I probably
fully
just have to walk to
fully
the edge.
Hopefully, I mean,
Well,
Oh,
listen.
man.
God rest her soul.
Well, that's we don't know what happened.
Nobody knows.
We don't know what
You're not-
happened.
you're not
but
gonna know till the
she's
till the autopsy.
Michelle Trachtenberg, what does it say right here?
Toxicology.
Michelle Trachtenberg replied to a claim she looked sick a year before death. Oh, so she already wasn't looking good.
Let me go to this
Why
next story.
matters. Okay.
May
My
God bless
apologies.
her soul, and I'm
Yep.
sure more stories will come out. But
Rest
our
in
prayers
peace.
go out to her and her family because that is tough no matter what
Gene
you are.
Hackman,
And Gene
rest in
Hackman,
peace.
respect
Respect
95
to Gene
years.
Hackman.
Live your life to the fullest. And God bless. Yep. Next story. 70 Christians beheaded in church. Here's what we know. Newsweek story. I think Adam and Vinny, both of you guys had notes on this. 70 decapitated bodies were discovered in a Protestant church in the DR of Congo, with sources suspecting the Islamist militant group Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, an affiliate of the Islamic State, ISIS, opened doors, an organization that supports prosecuted Christians, reported that the victims had been taken hostage before being tied up and decapitated with knives on February 12th.
Dexter
Military
shit right
administrator
there.
Alain Kiwaba confirmed an ongoing investigation while the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the DRC has not yet confirmed the attack sparked international outrage, with Hungarian officials Tristan Azbej, State Secretary for the Aid of Prosecuted Christians, stating horrified to learn about the 70 Christian martyrs beheaded by terrorists in a church in Kasanga, DRC. Hungary stands in solidarity with the persecuted Christians. Vinny.
Well, first of all, since God rest all of their souls too. Could you imagine? They went to their houses, dragged them all outside, marched all 70 of them while they were beating them. On the way, they put them in a church, killed every single one of them, beheaded them, and that was the end of it. Okay, and it's not just violence. Okay, and there's not a war. This is just an extermination of Christians in the Congo, and nobody, think about it. We're talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. It's not headline news. We had to search and look for this story. It's not breaking. There's no presidential address. There's no global outrage. Just silence. Why? Because Christians aren't a protected class in the eyes of the media and the global elite. Think about that. 70 people marched, brought into a church, and freaking murdered. If it was any other religious group, if this was an LGBTQ activist in the different faith community, the headlines would be screaming that it was a genocide. But that 70 Christians beheaded in a church, nothing to see here, Adam. You don't mean you do that. But the ADF have been terrorizing Christians, guys, in the Congo for years. Humberto has been talking to me this since he's gotten to valuetainment, and nothing. They burn villages, they butcher entire communities, and yet the world does absolutely nothing. And the UN is a joke. Okay, Western governments, joke. Nobody does anything. And the same people who virtue signal human rights, every chance they get nowhere to be found when Christians are being wiped out. It's so freaking weird to me. And meanwhile, we're sending all these billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, and Christians are being literally massacred in church, and nobody, no action, nobody. And this is what real war of faith looks like. And the silence, that's proof of it right there. What do you think, Tommy?
Well, all right. Well, this is, when I saw this headline, I was like, you can't just gloss over these headlines. Like, the next story was economists are starting to worry about Trump's recession. The previous story was about Zelensky. 70 Christians beheaded?
With kids, Adam. Yep.
In church? What we know? Vinny, who do you think did this?
Bad guys.
But do we have any idea
ISIS
of who
tied,
did it?
Congo.
Hold on, what? They know who did it?
Yeah, of course they do.
What do you mean? Who did it?
Did you not read the story?
No, tell me who did it.
ISIS-backed, well, I'll read it for you right now.
Yeah.
ISIS-backed terrorist group stormed the village, and they ripped women.
Oh, here it is
children.
right here. In the Republic of Congo, suspect that Islamic
It's going to take me 5 whole minutes to push that thing off.
jihadist terrorist group, an affiliate of ISIS. Oh, okay. Because I don't know about you, when I hear beheadings, there's only one group I think of. And it's not Jews, it's not Catholics, it's not Protestants, it's not Hindus, it's not Buddhists. It's Islamic jihadism. Are we just gonna beheadings, guys? What are we talking about? By the way, this is horrible, Christians. But I'd have just as much outrage if it was Buddhists, Hindus, Druze, Christians, Catholics. We're beheading people, guys.
Yeah, but you didn't. But
what kind of barbaric behavior is
but
this?
why have? Well, here's my point is, Adam. Why isn't this headline big time news? If it was Jews, Adam, it would be on the headline of. If it was anybody else, it'd be the headline news. Why is it when it's Christians? I get the point that you're making. Why is it when it's Christians, children march to a church and dude?
Let me show you something, Vinny.
That drives me
Rob,
crazy.
I think I sent you an image.
That gets me crazy.
Here's the problem. I say the thing all the time: no Jews, no news. But it's also no.
Well, it's Christians.
Okay. Do you know that these conflicts are going on? Everyone you hear about Gaza, what's going on in Gaza? Oh my God, Gaza! Oh my God, Gaza! Okay. Then you hear a little bit about Russia, what about Ukraine? Guys, those wars pale in comparison to what's going on in some of these countries. Do you know what's going on in Sudan? You see what's going on here in the Congo? You see what's going on in Yemen, the civil war there? They don't talk about it. In Haiti, in the Western Hemisphere, right here, there was a guy basically eating humans, burning them. So the world is crazy, but the news likes to pick the stories that get the views.
Yeah, but guess what? We have the resources to take out fucking terrorists, okay? With freaking
Vinny,
these people
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Help and they're not getting anything.
You go on Piers Morgan how often?
Maybe twice a month.
Okay, so you're there and you've done how many shows? At least a dozen.
At least a dozen.
Okay. How many times have you guys discussed Israel, Gaza, Palestine?
A lot. Well, when it's hot in the news all the time.
Okay.
Well, yeah, especially in that time with October 7th and stuff, a lot.
A lot. How much guys have you talked about Russia, Ukraine?
A lot.
How much have you talked about Sudan and the Congo?
Barely ever.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not my show.
Well, that's my point.
Well, yeah.
Is because you're Piers Morgan. I'm not calling out Piers Morgan. He's a very, very needed guy in the news, uncensored. But why doesn't he talk about it? Why don't other?
Well, that's my question to you: is why is the
because
Christian
some
faith
things are
not protected? Nobody gives a shit about us.
It's not even just about Christians. It's about what's going on in Africa.
Yeah, well,
because there people are getting beheaded, and they're like, just another Tuesday.
Yeah.
And
well, guess what?
Nobody calls out basically the source of what this problem is, and it's extremism. It's extremism. It just happens to be Islamic extremism in this case. If Christians were going around chopping people's heads off, I'd be calling them out too.
Of course. I know you would. So I'm just saying this is ridiculous. We're the most non-protected class. Tom?
You're exactly right. If it was
anybody.
LGBTQIQ asterisk exclamation point. It'd be headline news. The Babylon Bee or whatever it was ran a parody that took a lot of heat where they said, ISIS kicks off Gay Pride Month with reception at the top of very tall building.
Yes.
And they took, everybody knows that Babylon Bee is parody. Everybody knows that, but they took so much heat for that. You know why? Because it was a little too close to absolute truth.
Yes, I agree.
But you need to understand, there's one faith out there, where it's to love everyone and to be patient and to bring them the message of your Savior until they do. And it's to serve them, to show that that's the attitude of your Savior, is service and love and benevolence. And that is Christianity. Instead, you have...
I challenge you to it.
Say, no, wait. Well, so easy on the comments. I know what some of you are about to say, but I will say this. Before you go back to the Middle Ages, that wasn't Christianity. That was governments like Spain and Torquemada and the Tower of London. That was governments and the monarchies and the inbred kings and queens of Europe in the name of Christianity attempting to control the populace with a religion and morphing it all and being completely bastardized. And you want to know what the result of that? The United States of America. Because the Pilgrims, they were basically political refugees.
Yeah.
Right? And so they came here. And so the United States came here as a source of Christian persecution and people that wanted to leave. There were also non-Christians that just wanted to leave, what was the kings and queens.
Who was persecuting the Puritans and the Pilgrims and everything in Europe, and why they decided to come here? What was that story?
Well, the Tower of London, if you didn't get with the Anglican Church in the way of that, And remember, what was it, Henry VIII? None of the women would give him a son. And so he kept having the laws changed by the church so he could divorce and get remarried until somebody gave him a son. So you look at, set that aside. So hard. I know people are going to say, well, look what the Christians did in the Middle Ages. No. Those were monarchies with inbred kings and queens, some of them demonstrably insane, that were doing that in the name of the faith. I'm talking about core biblical Christianity today. It's a message of love and forgiveness and salvation and being patient and loving to your enemy and your persecutor in hopes that they will see the light, for that Savior. That's what it's all about.
God bless.
There's one religion that does that. One.
Ours.
And
well, they just got beheaded.
I say is all the rest of them have a pretty aggressive view of their, enemies, right? Yeah. And then Christ says,
"Great message. Everyone's your neighbor." Great message, Tom. Let's go to the next story here. Is progressive YouTuber Destiny accused of revenge porn? Okay, this is Adam's guy, right? So let me go to this one.
Going on and on and on.
So Destiny, 36 years old, known AKA Steve Bonnell II. Stephen
Bonnell, yeah.
Stephen Bonnell II has been accused of revenge porn by 4 women, including Twitch streamer Pixie Love.
Really?
Who sued him for
you didn't know about that?
$2.1 million, claiming he leaked their sex tape without her consent, leading to over 78,000 views on porn sites. Another woman, Claire Cherry, filed a police report alleging he shared an intimate audio recording of her without consent. The lawsuit also names 2 other women, Bonnell's ex-wife, Melina, and another streamer, Statistica, stop it, who publicly alleged that Bonnell released public content of them. Pixie's lawsuit, filed in Miami's federal court, cites text messages where Bonnell allegedly admitted to sharing the video, telling her, "I'm super sorry. There's literally no excuse." She claims the leaks left her suicidal, writing, "My dignity, peace of mind, and hopes for the future were stripped away in a matter of seconds." Bonnell later denied his guilt, claiming the leak happened without his knowledge, but Pixie alleges he has a pattern of sharing explicit content of women without their consent. Vinny.
First of all, and by the way, we know Pixie. She's been on the podcast a couple of times. I mean, Amy knows her. Amy was going to dig deep on this story. She's probably going to do it for Unusuals. But Pat, this guy, the moment I met this guy, just the most, like squirmy weasel, just married to a girl, but still just a cuck of a freaking guy, which, by the way, there's videos of this guy. Somebody tried to send it to me. I didn't want to open it, of him literally giving a Hummer to somebody, and they were saying that allegedly it was another guy that's in the media space. But this is what you get. This is another self-righteous, loudmouth, Trump-hating. Remember, Tom, what's that saying? The ones that always point, it's always these guys that are always the guilty ones. Mm-hmm. What is it? Is there a saying about that?
Projection.
Well, there's a.
Whenever you point 2 fingers, a finger at somebody, there's 4 pointing.
Yeah, and he loves to lecture everyone about.
Well, the political thing says, beware of the liberals that accuse you first of what they're already doing.
Yeah, exactly. So he built his whole brand on these debates. He's trying to be smart. There's moral superiority. He is, my opinion, he is that guy, because a lot of stuff leaked online, Pat, were like text through her that she posted, where he's basically admitted to all of it and saying that he was apologizing. Once you're apologizing and once you're doing all that, you're admitting guilt, and I wouldn't put it past somebody like that.
Do we have a clip or anything like that?
What is that?
This is just archive footage. This is a clip of Destiny in case people aren't familiar with who he is. This is him talking about gay people and black people, in which he uses racial slurs. And
no, don't play that.
No.
Oh, but he's that. He's that guy. He's a disgusting person. And and by the way, lately I even said it to Amy. I was like, bro, he's been kind of quiet. I haven't heard anything about. And then she was like, oh yeah, because this is what's happening. I hope he disappears. I hope he does that. I hope he has to pay what he has to pay. And if there's any way for him to go to jail, I hope he does. He's a disgusting human being.
Well, I know Destiny very well. I mean, he's been on PBD Podcast. He's been on Saucecast multiple times. Pixie has been on my show, I don't know, a dozen times when I was doing my show.
Destiny lost credibility
this
when he
guy's
said
debated
that
Ben
Trump
Shapiro. He's been on
supporters
Lex
deserve to
Friedman.
get shot.
What I'll say about Steven or Destiny is there's a difference between being smart and wise. He's not an idiot. He's a smart guy. He's well-read. He's got opinions. He's a good talker. He's a good debater.
But
being wise,
he's morally
is
bankrupt.
A different conversation we can have about him. I think he's done some things that are very questionable. You know, everything that happened with his ex-wife, Melina. And I don't know what happened there. You know, anytime that you're in an open relationship with a woman, but you're also into men as well, and she can do what you want to do.
But you're not gay.
Let me tell you something. That ain't going to work out too well.
Yeah.
No, I literally, just because I haven't been in this world and really since the election heated up, so it's been 6 months since I've really done anything with any of these guys. I genuinely have not kept up with any of them. What I do know is Pixie's an absolute sweetheart of a girl.
Yep.
I don't know what she did. So she did something with him? What happened?
Well, allegedly, he was recording and taking photos of her, I think with her okay, but then he started sending them to people. He started posting, and then one of them leaked
They were
online.
hooking up, or what were they doing?
He was hooking up. I think he was dating her. And he's like, I want to take... No, well, hold on. If you're dating someone and they're like, hey, listen, yeah, take a photo. And imagine sending it to other people, and then they're going to share it online. Bro, this is 2025. If you send something to someone, trust me, they're not the only one that's going to see it. So he sent it to people, allegedly.
If he did this, that's a total scumbag move. But what I will say is this, because I've seen him out there. He lives in Miami. Like the progressive leftist crew, there's not a lot of them. Like when I tried to host debates on Saucecast, I was like, all right, we've got 1,000 conservatives in the bullpen that I could call, and like Destiny and a couple weird chicks that I could bring on. It was very hard to do. But they look at him like he's the man. He's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the leader of the crew. You know, I could say some positive things about Destiny, but being a leader wouldn't be one of them. But he ain't scared. Like, he's been on Fresh and Fit. He's challenged people.
I understand that.
Like, he ain't like scared to debate. But there's a difference between being scared online or tough online versus in real life. Nobody thinks he's tough in real life. But if he did do this, I have no clue. I've been following this. It's a pretty dirty scumbag move.
I'll never forget, I was at this soccer game, me, Tikrin is standing next to me, and this father comes up to me and saying, you're the guy that had Andrew Tate. I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, you're the... I'm like, can I watch my... who's your son? He's on the other side. Watch your son play. They're playing against each other. Mm-hmm. And so Tikrin had come to visit me, and I'm talking to this one producer of a movie because we're talking about a movie with each other. He came down there from Palm Beach. He was at Mar-a-Lago for an event, and we're sitting there talking. And this guy wouldn't stop chirping. I said, what is it with you, guy? Yeah. I said, so let me ask you, who do you like? He says, I like Destiny. I said, great. I said, would you rather have your son grow up to be Destiny or to be Tate? Both are extremes.
Yes.
Yeah. Both are very extreme.
I actually
right?
need to take a break.
Any day of the week. I would rather have him be Destiny.
But I will
and that's
be
what we
back
differ.
on in
Very
a
simple.
little while.
I'm not comfortable
I'm going
with
to be streaming
a
Crisis
man
Core.
being a
I just
hero
picked up
to
that
other
game.
men,
I played the original.
saying, yeah, if my wife wants to
And
hook
I'm
up with
pretty
another
excited
man,
about
go
the
ahead
new
and
one. I
do
heard
it
good
while
things,
you're
so-
doing a video, and then behind you, she's
I
dancing
don't
with
know if I'll
somebody
be
else.
streaming any.
We don't need that as an
news
example and a hero
during
to other
that,
men.
at least
Okay?
the first part
Well,
of
what
it.
about this and what about that? So you can say
Get a
whatever you
little
want.
bit of a
buddy.
feel
Go
for
and say
it.
whatever you
Maybe
want.
I'll
All
turn
I'm
it back
saying
on,
is,
but I am
this is
looking
not
forward
an
to that
example.
game,
You're
so I
a
will
father.
be back on.
You're in
probably
your
about
late
an
40s,
hour or
early
so.
50s. You want
Much
that guy to look up
love,
to that guy?
you Tods.
So this guy is